to respect the time of our audience, it is 10 o'clock, and I will call this meeting to order. Commissioner Garcia, can you please lead us in the salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Of course. Vaughn Hartung, Chair. Alexis Hill, Vice Chair.
Here.
Mike Clark. Mariluz Garcia.
Here.
Jean Herman. Is she on the phone?
I'm here.
On the phone. County Manager Eric Brown.
Here.
Assistant District Attorney Nate Edwards.
Here.
And I'm Jan Galasini, your County Clerk. Madam, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. First on our agenda is public comment. Mr. Manager, can you please lead us into public comment?
Item 3 is public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the commission agenda. The commission will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments will be made to the commission as a whole.
Madam Clerk, we're ready.
We have several people signed in, so if you would queue up the second person. First up, we have Elise Weatherly, followed by Mark Newman.
Good morning. I'm just going to do the Marmot thing. Is anyone paying attention? Is anyone paying attention? Okay, I hope so. All I will say is that I was going to give you guys an assignment, which I still will. If you've ever heard of the MTA by the Kingston Trio, or even if you haven't, I would recommend you listen to it. I listened to it as a very young person. I had no idea the implications that were taking place in that song. So it's going to be rewritten for Charles Mark Newman, and I'll be probably releasing it maybe in a month or so. First, I'm going to run it by my sound engineer, Tom Gordon, because he's actually a man worth listening to. All right? Do you guys like my haircut? No, I haven't had one for a long time. That is compliments of Master Greg Shannon, who is in charge of child support for Washoe County. So we'll be talking about, money and stuff like that later, responsibilities and help and support. We'll just be dealing with all of it. Also, what I would like to do is publicly say I would like to have Miss Alexis Hill be the leader of the pack. I think that would be a great idea. I think it's time for a change. This morning, I gave a thumbs up to a bobcat, a guy driving a truck with a bobcat on it. Do you know why I did that? Because I've driven a bobcat. I've driven a front-end loader. I've driven cattle. I even drove a cow to a milking station when I really shouldn't have. I was very young, and I knew it was wrong, but I went along with my friend, and I kept going, well, why isn't the bull charging us yet? Here I am, a little kid that knows that we're not supposed to be in the corral with the cows and the bulls, but that's all right. The other thing, too, is I dressed down to come here to kind of give you a history of who I am. When I was diagnosed with a terminal brain tumor in 2015 and was given unnecessary chemo by Dr. Aaron Bowman from Cancer Care Specialists, I knew I could no longer think. I had to call Gene Carano and say, I'm sorry, I can't do my job anymore because I can't think. I wasn't sure I was going to live, right? So I used to drive my grandson back and forth to his school because I didn't have anybody else to do it. It was me. And every time I drove by O'Reilly's, this was like a year or so after the terminal didn't take place. And I thought, well, maybe I can still work. So I stopped in and talked to a man named Daryl. And I said, here's what I would like. And I told him what I wanted. I told him this, I told him that. And he goes, okay, we gave it a try. And guess what? I succeeded. The only thing I couldn't do is back a truck in. And I'm going, I'm not even going to try it because it's not my style. What I'm going to do next week, you guys, is probably sing to you the MTA song that I've redone. I'll give you a little history of my background because guess what? I don't lie. It's like God doesn't lie. He wants me to follow in his ways. I don't lie. I don't take the Satan approach. Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Mark Newman, followed by Robin Douglas.
Welcome, Mr. Newman.
Good morning, Commissioners and staff. First off, happy birthday or happy Valentine's Day. For the record, my name is Mark Newman. I'm a resident of Washoe County. I'm also on the Sun Valley Citizens Advisory Board and also on the Senior Services Citizens Advisory Board. I've been attending a lot of the different cabs throughout Washoe County, giving presentations on what's available to the seniors here within Washoe County. And I've seen Mr. Brown at all of them. That's great. And most of you, I've also seen it, a lot of them. Thank you very much for attending. The people really enjoy it. Second on my things for today is, prior to Five Ridges being built there on Highland Ranch Boulevard, there used to always be a heavy flooding down on the Pyramid Highway. And the city of Sparks initiated a kind of like a extra tax or whatever to the citizens of Sun Valley for flood control. Now, after our last flood that we had back in December, everything worked really good on the dam that they built for Five Ridges. And some of the residents of Sun Valley were wondering if you or the staff couldn't maybe get that removed to help some of the people save on their cost, because it's a pretty good chunk of change every year that they ask. Third, what I have for you is coming up in May is Older Americans Month. And there's going to be all kinds of different events that are going to be held all over the area of Washoe County and here at the Senior Center. It'd be really good if we could see maybe one or two of the different events that each one of our commissioners be present and say hi and shake some hands. And if you would, get a hold of Ryan Crane. Hopefully he can get you all on the calendar. And then, last but not least, last month I put in an application for the open space and regional parks for Washoe County. And I hope you would think about me when you're looking at the applications. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Next up is Robin Douglas, followed by Sarah Allen, and I do have a document to distribute for Ms. Douglas before her time starts.
Greetings. My name's Robin Douglas, and I'm here to
Hold on
speak
just a
about
second, Robin. Let
our opioid crisis here in Washoe County.
Robin.
Back in,
Robin. Hold on just a second. Can we get these in our hands? So you're okay. We're going to restart your time. I just wanted to have your document in hand prior to you starting your comments.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, would you reset the clock? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Start when you're ready, ma'am.
Thank you. Greetings. My name's Robin Douglas. I'm here to speak about our opioid crisis we have here in Washoe County. Back in April of last year, I went to my daughter's bedroom, and I found her laying on her stomach and noticed that her fingers were blue. I began to shake her, trying to wake her up, but I couldn't get a response. I then called 911 and was told to lift her off her bed, lay her on the ground, and begin CPR. It seemed like an eternity before the medics arrived and administered Narcan. There's nothing that prepares you as a parent to deal with the near-death experience of your child to a drug overdose. She was then taken by ambulance to Renown and was advised that she would have been dead had I not arrived when I did, but was sent home because we don't have the available beds here for intensive addiction rehabilitation, which is much needed for recovery. In addition to this experience, since last April, I have filed 3 missing persons reports, has spent countless hours roaming the streets looking for her as she relapses. This is my daughter, but it could have been your child or anybody. This disease does not discriminate. Opiates are highly addictive and show no mercy. We're opening shelters here for the homeless. We have food pantries, and we're supplying affordable housing. Why are we not opening up more mental health facilities and intensive drug rehab centers to put an end to this crisis? It is only getting worse. Why can't we look at the victims of this drug epidemic instead of closing our eyes and thinking it won't happen in our own backyard? Because it does. And why are we giving the power to these predatory dealers that are taking away members of our families? We only have a few facilities in the county which do not have the number of beds that are needed. Since April, I've been trying to get my daughter into a facility, and I'm constantly told that call back next month or in 2 months, but just to keep calling back. We're still waiting on this day. Meanwhile, because of the nature of this disease, an addict relapses and relapses again and again while waiting for a bed to become available. It takes 5 to 7 days without a substance for a person to test clean, which is what the facilities require before they can enter. I'm challenging you commissioners and Washoe County for help and provide solutions to this problem because it is real. We are only giving the fentanyl dealers more power, and we are losing the game because it's worse. We need beds. What help or resources can you provide and give my daughter and I so she can survive this? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sarah Allen, followed by Maureen Collins.
Welcome, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Sarah Allen. I'm a licensed alcohol and drug counselor in Reno. I am here to, yes, confirm everything that was just stated before me. We have a shortage of treatment facilities in the Reno area, and we have multiple issues going on right now. This problem is, it's really too late to contain it. It's going to increase. We have a few different things going on. We have an increase in relapse and overdose since the pandemic. Many people are struggling with mental illness to a degree that we have never seen before. I am proposing a new model that I've been working on because the old model is not working. So that's also an issue. With a growing problem, we also are using an old model that simply does not work. It is outdated. There is also the issue of there are people that need to be inpatient and there are not enough beds. So I have not completely built this model yet, but I can tell you that we're going to need to bring this out to people and to families. We need more education in the community. The other issue is that during the pandemic, there was a shutdown of manufacturing of psychiatric drugs. There are many psychiatric drugs right now that people are not able to get because of everything was shut down. And also during COVID, we also saw an increase in people asking for psychiatric drugs in order to cope. This is expected to become worse coming into these next months. They said at first it was going to get better around March, and now we know that that is not actually true. So it's going to grow, and it's going to start affecting people that maybe in the past thought that it wasn't exactly their problem, but it's going to become their problem. And this is very, very concerning because as drug use goes up, so will grief in the community, so will disconnection in the community because people are not knowing how to deal with this. Crime will also rise, and that is also a concern for every one of us. So it is not another person's problem anymore. So I teach a model of empowerment. This is a little bit of what I teach. I'm about to run out of time. Go laugh in the places you've cried. Discipline is self-love. Obstacles are opportunities to grow. From big mistakes can come big wisdom. To become driven by curiosity rather than fear. Own your story and become whole. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Maureen Collins, followed by Thomas Tizano.
Ms. Allen and Ms. Douglas, please don't leave. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners, and happy Valentine's Day. Why I did take work off today to come and speak with you is because I'm confused. I would like clarification on today's agenda, specifically item number 24, February 9th, 2023 staff report, page 3 of 3, last sentence, I quote, "This supplement does not include Washoe County Development Code, Chapter 110, which is published separately from the General Washoe County Code. What is happening with Washoe County Code Chapter 110? On December 6th, the Washoe County Planning Commission denied code amendments to Chapter 110 Development Code that would allow for cannabis lounges in unincorporated Washoe County. The Washoe County Commissioners appealed this decision of the Planning Commission's denial and put it on the agenda, item 23, at the January 17th Washoe County Commissioners meeting. Item 23 was then put to a vote to uphold the Washoe Planning Commission's denial of amendments to the Development Code to allow cannabis lounges 3-2. When printing out the draft of the attachment A1 on today's agenda, which amends Washoe County Code 110 Development Code, Articles 302, 304, 410 related to cannabis consumption lounges, dated December 6, 2022, page 2, item E states, I quote, "An appeal of the Planning Commission's denial was granted by the board on January 17th, and thus the Planning Commission's denial was overturned." And item F of that same page, quote, "Following a first reading and a publication is required by NRS 244.100, subchapter 1, and after a duly noticed public hearing, this commission desires to adopt this ordinance." The facts are the facts, ladies and gentlemen. The Washoe County Commissioners voted 3-2 on January 17th to uphold the Planning Commission's denial, not to overturn it. And what the heck is item F all about? I am, and a lot of us are confused, and transparency is needed now so we can understand what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thomas Tizano, followed by Nicholas St. John.
Welcome, sir.
Good morning. My name is Thomas Tizano. I'm a resident of Washoe Valley. I've been out there over 15 years. And I came to speak today about the licensing application for a cannabis lounge, and I found out that it's been pulled from the agenda. But I'd still like to talk about a little bit about that, and also about Sal's smell when they're harvesting their marijuana several times a year. The smell is horrendous out there. And several of the residents out there have spoken to Mr. Alexander, the owner, and he said he's got a filtration system. He's not going to do anything more. It does not work. His filtration system is ineffective. And we've complained to the Air Quality Board in Washoe County, and they ignore us. And they say, there's no problem out there. We'll send somebody out when we're complaining and let them smell it and then say to us there's not a problem. We're really getting tired of the quality of life out there because of the stink from Sal's operation. And now he wants to put a lounge in there to allow people to go out and smoke. And then there's only one way to get out to Washoe County or Washoe Valley to his facility, and that's the drive out there. And when we were at the Planning Commission, one of the commissioners said, well, we already have impaired drivers on the road. So does that mean let's put more impaired drivers on the road? Is that the policy? I mean, I really don't understand some of the thinking that's going on here. You know, we're concerned out there about our safety and having impaired drivers, more impaired drivers than there already are in Washoe County. We've got enough of them. We do not need more. So please, don't let him put that lounge in there. It's not going to do any good for the people that live out in Washoe Valley or the people that live in Reno when they have to, if they leave there and drive through Washoe Valley and into Reno or into Carson City. Think about the safety of your constituents. Please do that for us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Nicholas St. John, followed by Donna Clontz.
Welcome, Mr. St. John.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Nicholas St. John for the record. The issue I'm bringing this morning is one I've brought a number of times, and that is about the metal detector. After the last meetings, one of the staff put in a public records request asking for the law that gives the commission the right to screen us and search us as we come in into these chambers. Here's the response that I got from Ben West. Washoe County Commission support staff, following up on your request during recent public comment, asked me to respond regarding screening of attendees to Board of County Commissioners meetings. As you likely recall, in response to a public records request in March of 2022, I shared that there are no written or electronic public records related to the decision to implement magnetometer screening for the BCC meetings. The BCC has the authority to control and manage county property under NRS 244.270, which I'll read in a moment, and the county manager's powers and duties under Chapter 5 of the Washoe County Code includes overseeing security of county facilities. The decision to screen all attendees of BCC meetings was made under this authority. From the Nevada Constitution, Article 1, Section 18, unreasonable seizure and search, issue of warrants, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable seizures and searches shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, particularly describing the place or places to be searched, the person or persons, and thing or things to be seized. 244.270. The boards of county commissioners shall have power and jurisdiction in their respective counties to control and manage the property, real and personal, belonging to the county, and to receive by donation any property, blah, blah, blah. And finally, Chapter 5, in the middle of 5.0215, county manager powers and duties, there's a short four words, security of county facilities. The United States Constitution is the highest law in the land. No county commission, no state statutes, no city ordinances can override the U.S. Constitution. So I'm asking you guys to put on the agenda next time to have a discussion and for possible action to remove the metal detector. It's unconstitutional, and anyone who goes out and looks at any of this information will see that you do not have the authority to illegally search us because the U.S. Constitution provides for those for that protection, and that's our rights. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Donna Clance, and I do have a document to distribute for her.
Give us just a moment, Ms. Clance.
Thanks. I don't know if you could project from the
We
overhead.
turn the overhead on for Ms. Clance as well in the back. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Will you start the timer, please?
Great.
Ms. Clance.
Thank you. Good morning. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone, to commissioners and Mr. Brown. Like Mark, I've been, as a member of the Senior Advisory Board as an advisor for Washoe County, and also as one of the lead volunteers for age-friendly communities here in our three governments. We've been putting on these resource fairs at our libraries. So we yesterday had our fourth one. We had two already at Sparks Library. We had two at North Valley's Library, and we had over 130 people show up yesterday, including the providers. So we had everyone from Washoe County Legal Services, Social Services, Public Health, medical support folks, food bank. We took a ride on an RTC flex van to a local food pantry with 8 happy seniors who got to see what it all is all about, and it was really, really, really helpful. And so I wanted to let you know about the next two, March 13 and April 10, and also all the folks that are watching. We will be at South Valley's Library for the next one, and I wanted to thank those of you who have been coming to the cabs to hear from us, because there are 4 or 5 of us from the senior board who've volunteered to show up at the cabs and talk about seniors and senior programs and update folks and leave a lot of material. So we're committed to do that. I have been a part of the age-friendly group and
trying to make things better for our seniors since 2018 when we started. Now we have a Washoe County one that's getting started and a Sparks one that's getting started. And there are a few of us from the Age Friendly group and Washoe County Senior Coalition who would love to sit down with you one-on-one in a short meeting. I put in a request after the election, after everybody was seated after the election, and I haven't heard back yet. So I'm just asking Mr. Manager and the rest of you if we could come see you for 15, 20 minutes and talk with you about your views on seniors in your districts, as well as hear some of the things that we're working on and that we're thinking about. So I thought I'd say it here in the meeting today. Senior games are just finishing up at the city, and I participated. This is what the medal looks like. And I didn't get through security today because the thing is so big and metal and heavy, but I played basketball, shuffleboard, and beanbag baseball, which we've got 2 teams. Our Misfits team from Washoe County, we play at 9th Street twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays at 1:30. We won the trophy, so we're #1 beanbag baseball player of about 150 seniors in the area. So wanted to let you know that that had happened. Last of all, ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Fund money. We are busy getting senior input on a lot of ways to be advocates. There's $1 million at Reno today that's going to be talked about at the senior board. There's $100,000 at the Sparks board that's being talked about. And we, the seniors, would love to come back and talk to you about, or your Ms. Enright, about.
Thank you, Ms. Klotz.
In
Okay.
chambers, but I do have an email to be placed on record.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. We will close public comment and bring it back to the board. That now takes us to item number 4, Mr. Manager.
Item 4, Commissioners and County Managers' announcements, reports, and updates to include boards and commissions updates, requests for information, or topics for future agendas.
Mr. Manager, do you have any such items?
Mr. Chair, I have a few items. First of all, since this is the first meeting in the month of February, I'd like to point out and acknowledge that this is Black History Month, and that Black History Month was first recognized in the United States officially in 1976 by the order of President Ford as a chance to acknowledge the contributions of African Americans in many fields of endeavor in the United States through the years. So it's Black History Month, and I just thought I'd point that out. Number 2, with regards to the cannabis lounge item, we did make a media release last week, but I think it bears that it warrants reading again, that the cannabis lounges are not on the agenda today for reconsideration. And while reconsideration is not being pursued at this time, the commission could decide to bring the matter back in a different format at a later date. However, no decisions have been made at this time. So that is the statement we've released. For anybody that didn't see it or hear that, that's what's going on with that. Number 3, I wanted to point out, Mr. Chair, that there are some boards and commissions openings that will be coming forward in an effort to generate more interest in these things going forward. We will start announcing these at our BCC meetings. First is the Washoe County Building Enterprise Fund Advisory Board. That's coming up. It will close on February 27th at the end of the day, so anybody that's interested, all of these can be found on the Washoe County website. Secondly, our Senior Services Advisory Board. You'll be acting on 2 of those seats today, but in addition to those, there is an alternate seat that is open and will need to be filled beyond those that are being considered today. Also coming up, the Library Board of Trustees seat is open and will be advertised in the very near future. So that one hasn't opened yet, but it will be appearing. And there's also an open seat on the Post-Employment Benefits Trustee Board for former Washoe County employees. So, Mr. Chair, those are my items for this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. And I know Commissioner Hill, you and I, Vice Chair Hill, you and I are probably going to say the same thing, but, and this is not an attempt to preempt you in any way, shape, or form, but staff, can we reach out to Ms. Allen. I'd like to hear what her plan is. I'd like to understand it. We are in discussions right now as to how we are going to spend some of the opioid settlement money, and I have been very vocal. There's been never a question as to how I have wanted to spend that money, which is treatment, period, end of discussion. I don't want to give scholarships with it, not that those are bad things. I want it to go into treatment, period. And so I've made no secret of that. I will make no secret of that. I think that's how that money should be spent. And I'm hopeful that our partners, because we have regional partners that will also be part of the settlements, will also agree that that's a very important piece. And ultimately, we're trying to build a treatment facility that is, and I say build, I'm gonna change my words. We're trying to revamp and restore a facility here locally. So that is in the works. It just takes time, but I would like to hear Ms. Allen's comments, and I'm hopeful that staff will reach out to her. It seems as if she's certainly qualified to give us some direction, and I'd certainly like to see that plan. Mr. Manager, I'm glad you brought up cannabis. There was never an item on the agenda. It was never pulled. It was not ever here, so there was nothing to pull. We will certainly talk about item number 24 when that comes before us. And then Mr. Newman asked about flood control that's a fee from the city of Sparks. I don't think we have any control over that, but, and I don't see Mr. Solero, nor do I see Mr. Smith in the audience, but perhaps they can reach out to him and we can have that conversation. And then, Mr. Manager, also, I know Nicholas St. John, Mr. St. John has asked about metal detectors numerous times. I'm sure that we can have this conversation with him, as can we have the conversation as to why they're in the airports and why they're at the courthouse and why they're at the city of Reno and numerous other places, federal buildings and et cetera. So I'm happy to have that conversation. Vice Chair Hill, I will turn it over to, oh, and by the way, one last thing, important. Happy Valentine's Day to you, my lovely wife, Sandra. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was so sweet. I just wanted to also state that in addition to the opioid settlement support that the county is going to be considering, that will be on an upcoming agenda. And so thank you so much for bringing that to us. That's something that is, I know this board cares deeply about, and we are pursuing that aggressively. Behavioral health has been in the realm of the state. However, I think the county wants to take a more aggressive approach. So you'll be seeing that moving forward on agendas. We, Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Garcia, and Commissioner Herman and I had been at the NACO conference this weekend in DC, really lobbying for Washoe County and programs for Washoe County with our congressional delegates and connecting with other commissioners. NACO is a way for commissioners to learn from other regions and what's so interesting, even though there's very small counties and very, very big counties, as compared to Washoe County, they all have the same issues. So it was a great opportunity for learning for all of us, and I'm really grateful that I was able to get away to experience that and bring also some great grant opportunities from the federal government that are coming online to this board. So you'll see that moving forward, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. Those are my only comments.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I had Commissioner Garcia signed in. Okay, you're still signed in, but you're not signed in, but you're still signed in.
Thank you, Mr.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. To piggyback on Commissioner or Madam Vice Chair's comments about the NACO Legislative Conference, it was a tremendous professional learning opportunity, especially for a new commissioner, to be able to sit at a table with a very, very small county and then have, the top 3 largest counties on the other side of the table. So that perspective was phenomenal. I attended sessions, related to human services and health policy. Opioid addiction came up a lot over the course of the weekend. It's affecting communities throughout the nation, regardless of socioeconomic status, race, ethnicity, age. It is a pandemic or an epidemic, and folks are really looking to that. So I appreciate you bringing that forward this morning. Very timely with what we learned about this weekend. And in relation to the funding opportunities, so many funding opportunities, phenomenal, again, to learn about how some of these federal dollars from ARPA, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and the Inflation Reduction Act are actually getting to the counties themselves indirectly, so through grant opportunities, and we learned a lot of available resources for our constituents. And one of the most rewarding parts for me was be able to see some of our staff in action, and I wanted to acknowledge the work of Carissa Bradley. She's our grant and community program analyst, and she was so strong and confident when she was talking to our congressional delegates, and just wanted to let everyone know what a strong representative she is for our county, what a gift she is and an asset. And so I just wanted to end with that remark.
Okay, thank you so much. Commissioner Clark, I have you signed in next.
Thank you, Chairman Hartung. I just wanted to also comment about having the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. and look at our nation's capital and just realize that how many years, several hundred years that the government's been in place there. But personally, I still think all politics are local, and I think the things that we can learn from Washington, D.C. and then transform and bring back to our local constituents is what made this trip very important to me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Commissioners, anything else?
Commissioner Herman, maybe?
Oh, Commissioner Herman, I beg your pardon.
My connection hasn't been too good. It's dropped a couple times. So I am still in Washington, D.C. The people here at the Hilton are waiting for the president to appear at the NACO meeting. And so I will be back on tomorrow's flight. And that's all I have to say. It was a very good conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate that. It's always a learning experience to go to Washington, D.C. I haven't been in a while. In fact, I haven't been since the pandemic for personal reasons, but it is worthwhile. It is good to talk to our federal delegates and really let them know what's happening on the ground here in Washoe County. And how they can assist us. So I look forward to seeing the fruits of that conference. Okay, I'm going to.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. One item I forgot.
Mr. Manager.
Mr. Chair, I wanted to share that last week we received notice that Heather Carmen, our Assistant Registrar of Voters, is planning to leave her post after serving 22 years with the county, with Washoe County. And I met with Ms. Carmen last week. She's moving on to another position with the Secretary of State's office, which will help benefit not only Washoe County, but I think other counties as well. So I just wanted to acknowledge her years of service and congratulate her on her new position and wish her well.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Manager. She was a wealth of knowledge and will be sorely missed, but I can understand why the Secretary of State was interested in having her. Thank you. I appreciate that. Commissioners, anything else, second round? Okay. I will close item number 4. That takes us now to item number 5. Mr. Manager.
Item 5 is a recommendation to ratify the results of a countywide job classification and compensation study conducted by consultant Korn Ferry at the request of the Department of Human Resources, and to direct staff to implement the conclusions and recommendations in the study. Job classification is required by a merit personnel system and is a process of objectively and accurately defining and evaluating the duties, compensation levels, responsibilities, tasks, and authority level of a job. The use of the Korn Ferry job classification system and compensation plan has been agreed to by the employee associations except for the sheriff deputies. A full scope classification study was last completed in 1999. For the current study, Korn Ferry considered the following needs. First, job evaluation and equalization of pay for similar jobs. Second, review of market competitiveness of pay structure. Third, development of a compensation philosophy where Washoe County continues to maintain salary scale midpoints at the 50th percentile of the comparable agencies as determined by Korn Ferry. Compensation of the current clerical and administrative positions, and development of consistent pay structures and administrative guidelines. Korn Ferry recommended the restructuring of some job descriptions and pay grades, as well as an implementation plan that brings all employees who are currently below the minimum of the restructured pay range to the minimum of the recommended pay structure. The implementation will be rolled out over several pay periods. However, the actions will be retroactive to the August 14th, 2023 effective date. The total fiscal year 2024 fiscal impact estimate is $11.5 million, $7 million of which is the general fund and $4.5 million in other funds. Korn Ferry recommended the continued maintenance of the classification and compensation policy by ongoing review and benchmark every 2 to 3 years, applying market adjustment unless job market conditions require more frequent reviews. Ongoing review ensures less dramatic fiscal impact, ensuring employees are classified and compensated according to work performed, and encouraging efficient hiring and better retention. And this morning, in chambers,
We have a whole contingent of HR.
Good morning, Julie Paholke,
Welcome.
Human Resources. For the record, I would like to introduce Jennifer Haswick from Korn Ferry. She is the consultant that led the classification and compensation study. We have put together a PowerPoint for you, and she will guide you through that. And at the end, we're happy to take any questions you may have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hold on just a second. Madam Clerk, would you put 15 minutes on the clock for this, please?
Do I have a clicker?
Do we,
Is this it?
the clicker is right there. You are in control of the channels. You get to
Okay.
decide what we
Wow, look at
watch.
that. All right.
Please identify yourself one more time for the
Hi,
record.
I'm Jennifer Hasrick. I'm a principal consultant at Korn Ferry, based out of Madison, Wisconsin. So I've come here from a warmer place to a little bit of a colder place today, for the record. So I am pleased to walk you through the study that we conducted for the past year, and walk through the details, and would love to answer any questions you might have. I'm going to skip to that first slide there. Manager Brown already went through these pieces of the study. We're looking at job evaluation, the market competitiveness of Washoe County, looking at refining the compensation philosophy. We did deep dive into some areas, particularly the clerical roles, and then developing a new pay structure based on our findings. So the question is, why now? Why do this? Well, it's been since 1999 that the first big study was conducted. It's a really long time. So it was really time is due. Partly also, the labor market has been shifting and continues to shift, just like organizations shift. And so, that's really a big part of why do you do a study like this. And, when you start looking at retention, you're looking at recruitment, looking at market competition. One thing that's really shifted in the public sector is that you're not just competing with the public sector anymore, you're also competing with the general market and the private sector. And so that's a reflection of what's changed in the labor market. When we do a study like this, there's really 5 core steps that we did. We kind of start at the bottom and we work our way up. So first we start building the foundation, understanding the organization. We spent time with department heads. We spent time with the HR department. We spoke with Manager Brown to understand the challenges that Washoe County was facing, but also how's the culture and how does the operations today work. So we really wanted to understand the organization. It's not just a boilerplate approach that we took. The next thing that we did was we looked at the job, 160 jobs of the organization deeply. We looked at using the same system that the county has been using for the last 20-some years. We looked through the job evaluations of 160 roles, plus an additional 15, actually, once we got through the study to really deep dive into the roles. For roles that weren't specifically reviewed, we looked at, reviewed additional roles and say slotted, but looked at them in reference to the roles that were, if they were adjusted or within the same department. Once we have the understanding of where the jobs are placed and the size of the roles, we looked at the market. And so that is the second piece of that. The structure design merges those two steps together to understand and to create the relationship between jobs and market, and then that's what guides us for the next part of the recommendations in terms of the impact and where the cost would be. As I mentioned, we're not just competing now with the public sector, we're also competing with the private sector. So we use 3 core data sources. The first was the public sector composite, which you can see, and there's the cities around or organizations around the county that you are directly competing with. But we also looked at organizations, large counties of similar size and scale in the western part of the United States. We looked at, through our databases, we have collect pay data from the general industry as well as the public sector. We have a specific cut for that nonprofit organizations. So it's the combination of those three data sources that we use to create what the market estimate is. So really quickly, when we look at job evaluation, one thing that's really key to understand is the system has been working pretty well. However, some of it was very much isolated by department. So one thing we did is we opened up the view of the organization in this study, and we looked throughout the organization. So that one job level, we looked across departments as well as the relationship in between, among the department, which is a really important thing when you look at and consider internal equity. So a job of a similar size in one department will be paid similarly in another. In terms of internal equity, what we do is we look at that job size, and then we look at how pay is being distributed for those sizes. So this is a really great graphical representation of job size in the organization in your county, plus what current pay rates are. So as you can see, overall, within job sizes, pay is fairly equitable. There are some that are running a little bit lower than that 20% mark, which is where our tolerance zone in terms of you can expect some variance in pay by job size due to tenure, due to performance, due to experience. That's okay, that's typical. And that's usually also what guides us with our structure design. However, you can see there are some that are a little bit lower, especially in that upper part, and that's largely due to the fact that when we evaluated the roles, those roles actually moved up. So that's what some of those are a little bit lower. If you are a new organization that's never had any type of job evaluation system, you would see dots all over the place. You would not see them in this really nice line. So one thing that's good to say is that overall internal equity is fairly strong in the organization to start. Once we take a look at that internal equity piece, then we compare it to where the market is. And so it's kind of hard to see the differentiation of colors, but that green line in the middle is your P50, that middle of the market. So it's using those 3 data sources and creating that line. So it's this relationship between job size and the market. So as you can see, overall, the county is competitive on the lower end of the range, at the lower end of the job size, and as job sizes move up, less competitive. And looking at, depending on the job, anywhere, somewhere even dipping below that P25. So in terms of implementation and what now? So there has been a structure that's been developed, and one thing, actually, I'm going to step back just so understand. That green line is what informs the structure design. That is the backbone, if you want to think of structure, how do we get to what a new midpoint is in a structure? It's that P50. And so then the ranges are built around that. And so once you look at that and consider that, then it's, well, where does everybody fit? So the first part in terms of implementation, we recommend having the COLA and the PERS adjustments that have already been planned for and approved go through in July. Let that all flow through. Then look at the new structure and then see there's kind of two buckets. You have those employees that may fall now below this new minimum. And then the second piece is if there's any jobs that move during the course of our study, because there were jobs that moved 1 or 2 levels in some cases, having those for internal equity, treat them as promotions that have a maximum of about 10% for that increase. And having this start implementing in August. So in terms of the recommendation, I know that there's, this is kind of goes beyond me in terms of the fiscal impact, but I know the budget team worked very hard to determine what that dollar amount is. Most of that dollar amount, that $7 million and the $4 million from the funds, comes from bringing that minimum, those individuals up to from below, that were below minimum, and those that had level movements. In terms of continued maintenance, do you have to do a study this large every year? No. Every 2 years? No. Every 20 years is a long time, but for the most part, you don't have to do this heavy lift very often, as long as the market is paid attention to. You have a great job evaluation committee that looks at jobs, that keeps that true, which we saw in that internal equity. It's really keeping a pulse with the market. We recommend every 2 to 3 years doing a subset of the jobs, testing the structure to see where the market's moving. COLAs will bring up, that cost of living will bring up midpoints evenly, but what happens in the labor market is some parts of the labor market move faster than others. So that looking at the market every 2 to 3 years helps correct and adjust for that. The other thing that we, looking in terms of market position, we recommend to stay competitive to be at that 50th percentile. That's the middle of the market that helps you stay competitive. Most organizations, I'd say 90-some% of organizations throughout the United States, public sector or private, do target about the 50%. So that's really where your competitive zone is. That is my last slide.
Okay. Before you run away, I just have a fast question for you,
Yeah.
because we mentioned, you mentioned a bunch of things, and look, and I'm highly supportive of workforce retention. If we're not competitive, and this has already been borne out in our organization. I mean, we have over the years lost some very valuable employees to other organizations, and by the way, I will tell you, we've gained some very valuable employees from other organizations, for the simple reason that we are very competitive. But I'm going to work backwards here. The timing of your COLAs. So what we saw recently, we saw rampant inflation. And those COLAs, and you could say, okay, well, let's do a 3% COLA. That didn't even come close to keeping up with those spikes. And the problem is typically, and it depends on how inflation is gauged, but in many cases, they will take out the volatile food and energy. Now, I don't know about anybody else in the room, but I need to eat and I got to get somewhere. So it's one of those things where so you take out food and energy, and by the way, everything is dependent on food and energy. Whether it's receiving an item that you bought on Amazon or going to the groceries or going to a store rather and picking an item off the shelf that had to be trucked there that was dependent on energy to get it from point A to point B. So it's the timing of COLAs. It can be very, very tricky. This is not pejorative about what you're saying. It's just I mean, this year, typically we could in past years. I've been on the commission for 10 years, and it was a pretty gentle scenario. We were able to time those things and say, yeah, these are reasonable amounts to put on a COLA. This last year proved us all wrong.
Well, what's really interesting too, the relationships with inflation and wage costs, they're not hand in hand. And wage increases and cost tends to go more even keel, and it's more this. Inflation does this. And so, it goes up, it goes down. One thing we have seen is more wage growth in the last 5 years, last 3 years, compared to the last 10 years even. When you think of the previous recession in 2011, 2010, from that point, it was 2%, maybe 3%.
Right.
Like it was very slow growth. Now we're starting to see 4% growth, 5% growth, and it's not been even in sectors either. That's one thing that we're really seeing.
Well, and I would submit to you that they still don't have control over it, ergo the rising interest rates, because in the supply side economy, that's the only way that they have to control inflation is to raise interest rates, try to slow things down and change those balances. And so it's a tricky scenario, and I don't think the Fed is done raising interest rates yet. Which again is, and I know that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're not, but it does come back to what does it cost an employee to live?
Absolutely, and that's the relevancy, of doing a study of this nature.
Right.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I know I have other commissioners that want to speak. I forgive my loquacious nature. Vice Chair Hill, I have you signed in next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for this presentation. I think it provides some clarity, hopefully, for the public and our staff as to what we're doing with this study. I know that when we spoke offline about this, I just want to make sure I get this on the record, but you did confirm that this was something that the HR department was going to do, is ensure the equity as we go through this study between gender and race as part of this, because I think people are across the board, and especially working in a government agency previously, I know that there were discrepancies in past organizations, and I don't know for sure about Washoe, but I think it's important that we, do that work. So I just want to make sure I get that on the record. And I agree with the chairman. This is so important. We need to keep up with, hiring the best and brightest for Washoe County and ensuring that they can live fruitful lives in our region. And so this is something I support certainly, but I also wanted to reiterate that I don't want us to be hiring folks when they start above what the salary is, the salary starting band is for that position, because I think that is something that also can happen, and there can be discrepancies where some people are able to negotiate when they start in a position better than others, and I just want to make sure there's equity with that. That's a major concern I have. So just for the staff and giving HR guidance, I just want to make sure that we give that direction. And I have one more question, Mr. Chairman, for the manager. We had a staff member reach out to us this morning with concerns about this study because they were worried that the county manager was giving promotions to their staff as part of the Korn Ferry study prior to the rest of the departments. And I just wanted to, Mr. Manager, will you remind us, we approved management, and I thought it was ACM level staff, higher pay through before this full study came with the rest of the county. Did we approve any promotions, the Board of County Commissioners, beyond the ACM Korn Ferry separate study before this full study for the county came before the commission?
For the record, County Manager Eric Brown, no, we made adjustments for ACM level, my direct reports, but there were no promotions for those positions.
And on your staff that work in the I just want to make sure this is clear, because I think I remember working in different departments at previous government agencies, and I want people to feel that there's equity here. So I just want to be transparent as part of this. We didn't recommend position increases as part of a separate Korn Ferry study for other positions in the manager's office, did we? Other than the ACM positions?
Not that I recall. I don't know, Julie, and is that correct?
There was a salary study conducted for some direct reports to the county manager.
Okay, but manager level report, or was it also line level staff in the manager's office, or
They were
just as for clarity? Sorry.
It's okay. Patricia Hurley, Human Resources, for the record, there were other line staff, correct, that did benefit from the study. There was the communications director, the director of human resources, the assistant to the county manager as well.
And then the ACMs.
And then the ACMs.
Why were we recommended to approve those prior to this Korn Ferry study? What was the strategy behind that?
We started the executive study way in advance of this Korn Ferry study. This became, we started that in January of 2022.
Okay.
And so it came back, and then we began and it was before we made a decision. Human Resources was looking at everything and decided we probably need to do a study. And in speaking to, the unions and everybody else as well, that a study should be conducted for the whole county. That's what I mentioned to them when we did labor as well, that we should do a comprehensive study. That's what HR would like to fight for. And we were given the green light to begin the study for the county, the rest of the county, which began in June. And so the executive study was done prior to even the thought of the Korn Ferry study for the whole county.
And I would just say to end my comments, I'm sorry I'm taking up so much time, Mr. Chairman, but I think it's important for all, certainly for me as a board member to really consider those things, but are we giving the executive level staff raises prior to giving staff in other department raises? And I don't want staff that are not in the manager's office to not feel that they are just as valuable as the rest of the staff in the county. And so I think we need to really be careful when we do these things in the future that everything is aligned together. And I just wanted to make sure that I addressed that employee's concerns, because I have a feeling that it's probably a topic that a lot of people are talking about. And I wanted to tell them, I'm sorry, I hear you. And I want to do better as a commissioner to make sure I'm also looking at those equity things. So thank you for this.
You're welcome. And Patricia Hurley, for the record, there's a lot of lessons learned. This is our first time as Human Resources, like we said, since 2001 doing this study. There's a lot of things we definitely are going to debrief about that we would do most definitely differently next time. So thank you for that.
I'd like to
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Commissioner Clark. Oh, I'm sorry.
Jennifer Hessrick, for the record. Just wanted to add on to the executive study. One thing to note is that when we do whether we're a new organization or an organization we worked with for a while, we usually look at the top of the organization first to set the groundwork to understand how big the organization is. So that work was built off of, and in terms of how high that size of the organization, and then it kind of trickles down to make sure then the relationship between the roles are even. And it was very valuable actually for this study to have that information.
And I appreciate that. I feel like now, looking back, we should have approved, and this is not on you, you were working for Korn Ferry, not the county, but we should have approved all of those at the same time for equity in this county. So that, I just wanted to make sure I got that on the record, so we can all look to do better, and hopefully the manager hears that concern. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, and I'm glad that Vice Chair Commissioner brought this to the forefront and asked these questions. Before I was sworn in, I asked the exact same question. This had the appearance that the manager's staff was cutting line. We knew Korn Ferry was on the track and it was coming into town and things were going to happen. Why didn't we wait an extra 60, 90 days to implement this across the board where everybody could be recognized at the exact same time? So that was my comment, and I feel the same way that that the other commissioners feel that we should have had this roll out all across the board instead of, it has the appearance of impropriety when the manager's office and his staff gets the bump before anybody else. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else? Julie, Patricia, contingent? Okay. Thank you so much. It was, we've been having this conversation, and I saw this earlier. It was not that I was not engaged. I got to ask staff lots of questions earlier on while this was all being vetted through the process. So many of my questions got answered along the way. I'm glad we're engaged in this, and what I would like to do is certainly, and I don't know whether, Mr. Manager, this rises to the level of policy, or commissioners, that it rises to the level of policy, but I would like to see these studies happen more often. It's a little like this, and I use these kinds of analogies all the time. It's like painting your house. If you wait 25 years to paint your house, you're replacing siding. You're not just painting your house because it's rotted. But if you paint your house every 3 or 4 years, it's always fresh and it's always beautiful, and it's that I'm going to call it maintenance, which is really important. And I see this as one of those things going on, and as we're each in a position where we're not. I'll just call it, terribly long-term in terms of the county. 12 years is the amount that we can all serve. I'm in my last 2 years, of course. We should be doing this, far past the time that this board serves. And because I think it's important to stay on top of these kinds of things, to make us competitive, to ensure that we are retaining the brightest, the best, and are paying commensurate wages. So, and I'm not gonna point anybody out around the region or the state, but I think we can all think of agencies or governmental agencies where they're just not up to par at all, not up to par, and it's long overdue, and their policy-making bodies have not taken action because they've had other things going on. So sadly, it is important, and I'm thankful, and I want it, and I think that this was a great effort, by the way. I want it to be fair, and I want it to be equitable, because we could look at wages in San Francisco and go, oh my God, we're so low. Well, okay, you're right. We are, but we have to look at something that is comparable. It's got to be apples to apples, and sadly, sometimes it's difficult, especially even in Nevada. It's difficult. I mean, you can't find a similar scenario to Washoe County in Nevada, so we can't look even in our own state. So we have to go outside those boundaries. Commissioner Clark, I have you signed in one more time. You're there. You there?
Yes.
There it is.
Just like to follow up with that. It's so important that the people, the rank and file people that work for the county, are compensated equitably. I think we should be reviewing this at least every 3 years to make sure that we stay in line with the workplace out there, and make sure that our folks are compensated fairly. I mean, this county would be nothing without the good, hardworking people that we have here in the county. So I support a review of this on a more regular basis, and make sure that we stay competitive to make sure our folks are compensated adequately. Thank you.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, Mr. Edwards. Can we because we're styled for action, can we give that direction today to go back to staff to say we will do this every 2 to 3 years, and sort of make that do we have to crack open any policies? Patricia, welcome, Ms. Rivers.
Patricia Hurley, I could hand it over to Mr. Edwards if you'd like me to. Patricia Hurley, HR for the record. It is stylized already for you to ratify that. That's where we have that ongoing maintenance part that's already in there. Yep.
Okay.
So once you ratify this, if you do accept it as the board, it will give us guidance to do this every 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Or as demanded by the market.
Okay.
which could mean we could do
Define,
it
yeah,
sooner.
define that for me.
And I think she did during the presentation,
Yeah,
Jennifer.
but I mean,
did-
let's make that perfectly clear, as demanded by the market.
There
if
could
you
be
would,
some
please.
positions that require review sooner. An example could be nurses. We have
Okay.
nurses that work for
Okay.
us, and the market could demand that we need to look at nurses and not have to wait for a whole complete study. That did occur last year when we were under negotiations. Nurses are, it's very hard to find those. Mental health counselors are another difficult classification that we are unable to hire for. So there may be that the market may demand that we have to look at separate pockets of classifications that won't affect other classifications, if that makes sense. So.
I love that. No,
Okay.
that's important. In fact, yeah, thank you for articulating that, because I think
You're welcome.
that's imperative.
I'm just looking to Jennifer to make sure I said it correctly. Okay.
Well done.
Thank you.
Commissioners, anyone else? Vice Chair Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One more thing. Is there a way that we can budget, and I know this is not part of today, but to go back and compensate the staff that, if we approve this today, that were left behind as part of the executive staff receiving their a few months or a month and a half of compensation? Is that, I know we're not stylized for that today, but can we bring that back? Do we need to bring that back? Can we give direction in that way?
Patricia Hurley, I'm going to bring up Abby, who can answer that question, because that was part of our discussions as well. So.
Our CFO, Abby Yakobin. Ms. Yakobin?
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chairwoman, members of the Board of County Commissioners, Abby Yakobin, CFO.
Yakobin, uh-oh.
No
You may call
problem.
me Vaughan.
No problem. We could certainly do that calculation for you and bring that back through the county manager for discussion.
I'd love that, and I think that the staff would feel whole if we did something like that, because it was only like a month, I think, so, or a month and a half, so it shouldn't be a huge chunk of money, but I think that would be, I'd like to recommend that go back to the board, and then we can have that discussion.
Sure thing. We'll set expectations by letting you know how long that calculation will take through the county manager.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, what's the appetite today? What do we want to do? What direction do we want to give?
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to make a motion.
The floor is yours. Vice Chair.
Okay. Do we need to do public comment? I don't know.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much. Well done. Thank you for reminding me. I don't have anybody. Oh, I do have 2 people signed in. Forgive me. I do. Madam Clerk, would you please call public comment?
Of course. First up, we have Linda Jacobs.
Forgive me, Ms. Jacobs. Welcome.
You're okay. Thank you. Linda Jacobs for the record. My little speech does change a little bit. Thank you to Commissioner Clark and Commissioner Hill, because I am here on behalf of a lot of the staff in my office who had questions about the timing of the 2 different implementations and feeling like they were not being seen or felt important as the people over in Building A, as they're referred to. So thank you for bringing that up. I really do hope that it does come back so that people do have the same start time for that. It doesn't affect me because of where I'm at in my position, but it does affect my staff. So thank you, and we look forward to seeing that in the future.
Thank you, ma'am.
Stephen Thalacker.
Welcome,
Good morning.
sir.
I'm Stephen Thalacker, and mine probably wouldn't change if I spoke beforehand. But I'm an employee of the Washoe County Treasurer's Office, and I've been there since 1998. And I think that gives me a unique perspective coming from that office. And I'm concerned in treating one set of employees differently than others is a grave mistake. And I'm referring to the December hearing or meeting where the original employees were given raises, not promoted, but over the others. Where in that hearing or in that meeting, the board approved changes in pay grades for 6 managerial employees effective January 2nd of 23, based on the recent Corn Ferry study. And yet at the rest of the employees of Washoe County haven't received a pay increase. And I think you should do the right thing and make the pay increase retro to January 2nd, like the other ones. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
That's everybody in chambers who has signed in. I do have an email to place on the record.
Okay, we don't have a motion yet. Commissioner Garcia, I have you signed in.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, of course, am very supportive of the Washoe County's goal to be an employer of choice. And I wanted to commend the folks from our different departments and offices for reaching out to us and having the courage to do that. I think that's an example of what we want to see moving forward, that our staff trusts us, that they're willing to communicate with us and share and voice their concerns. So thank you for being here today and reaching out. And thank you for the wonderful briefing and presentation and answering all the questions we had. And the study was well overdue, 24 years. It's incredibly overdue, so I'm very supportive of this.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, now I'm ready to entertain a motion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to ratify the results of the countywide job classification and compensation study conducted by consultant Core Ferry at the request of the Department of Human Resources and to direct staff to implement the conclusions and recommendations in the study.
Okay. I have a motion by Vice Chair Hill, second by Commissioner Herman. And Commissioner Herman, I was going to ask after Commissioner Garcia, do you have any comments I'll take you as a second. Do you have any comments under discussion?
I'm fine with, I'm very satisfied with what we discussed.
Okay. All right. We have a motion by Hill, second by Herman. We have asked for public comment. We have also taken discussion amongst ourselves. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
I believe motion carries unanimously. Commissioner Herman, you were an aye also.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. That takes us, thank you, staff. And those of you from
Enfield, Community Reinvestment Manager, regarding a status update for the State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund grant for $91,587,038 awarded to Washoe County pursuant to the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021.
Welcome, Ms. Enfield.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and County Commissioners. For the record, Gabrielle Enfield. Thank you for the opportunity to give you an update on our community reinvestment program and the ARPA funding. I will start. We're going to talk about the state and local fiscal recovery funds as well as discretionary funding, our work towards federal appropriations, special projects, and then our upcoming priorities. So first is our update just by the numbers. So as you know, we received $91,587,000 from the U.S. Treasury. We have so far allocated almost $77 million of those funds through our numerous projects, with a remaining balance of just a little over $14.5 million. So we have 77 projects totaling, including the one project that you have on your agenda later today. 42 of those are internal projects, 32 are external community grants, and 3 are administrative accounts. So we have expended of these funds almost $12 million. So these projects are moving very all nicely. We've got a lot of projects going, and you can see the pie chart just giving you a little perspective on how this is all distributed. These remaining funds totals will be adjusted a little bit as a result of the item you just heard. So we have a number of projects that include staff, so we'll be doing some projections and identifying how those impact before we go into making recommendations on the remaining allocations. You will see also on the chart, we have identified a reserve of 15% for the remaining funds, just to ensure that we have funds available to accommodate any overages or any amendments that we have to have. We've seen that happen with other projects, especially if we're dealing with construction, so that we make sure that we are able to meet the needs of those projects completely with these funds, and we don't come up short. So this is a list of our 10 completed projects. We have another 15 projects that are scheduled to complete by the end of this fiscal year going into the summer. And we have 59 ongoing projects. So a little bit of an eye chart here, but we wanted to give you a perspective of the milestones of what's been going on with the project. We have a lot of different activities happening from the beginning of the program, starting in July of 2021 when the funding was first accepted by the board. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but I wanted to be able to give you a little bit of a perspective as far as where we started and where we are now. We're looking at the second round of funding, big round of funding, and probably the last major round of funding for that remaining $14 million. So when we made the awards and the recommendations for awards, we utilized the guiding principles provided by the County Commission and leadership. And this slide identifies those guiding principles, and you can see in the lower corner there also some additional components that have been provided to us by the Board of County Commissioners, specifically parks and open space, one-time versus ongoing expenses, of course, because these funds are one-time funds and we don't want to create budget obligations going forward, as well as limiting staffing for the very same reason, and focusing on some regional approaches when we can. So for this round 2 evaluation, we're also considering more specific components like also one-time versus ongoing, but looking at the strategic planning alignment that the board just recently identified, your new strategic planning priorities, project urgency. These funds they're here, we have them right now, so we would focus more on this funding rather than say if it's not as urgent of a project, it might be something that we go for discretionary funds, a competitive application, or an appropriation, as I'll talk about in a few minutes. We also, as I mentioned, will be identifying the reserve, the deadline. We do have constraints on when we can spend these funds, so that is also something that we're considering as we identify which projects to bring forward as recommendations for the remaining funding, and then filling gaps in the original priority areas. So we are focusing more on discretionary grants. This is grants that are competitive opportunities that we can submit applications, whether to federal agencies, state, or even as we move forward to foundations and private funding. So we have had the opportunity to add a program coordinator. This has been planned for the whole year, and we have been able to hire Lauren Solom. She's been with us for 2 months now, but she is 50% funded by the general fund and 50% funded by the ARPA funding, and supports all of those projects that we have going on, primarily the nonprofit subgrants, for 50% of her time. But the other 50% general fund allows her to support departments and work with our grant writing consultant to really be able to go out there and submit a lot of more applications and seek more of those funds so we can bring in more federal dollars and some of those other sources as well. We're looking to identify and working on identifying the infrastructure funding and the bipartisan infrastructure law, as well as coordinating with the departments. This next slide gives you it's a little hard to read. Sorry about that. It gives you an idea. These are just the applications we have underway right now with departments. So these are applications in progress. We haven't received these funds, but in this 1 month, Lauren and the subject matter experts from our departments are working on over $5 million worth of grants. So these are being submitted. We're really starting to be able to hit that hard. Lauren has over 18 years of grants experience, and we're very lucky to have her. She's doing a great job. So federal appropriations. The appropriations you're familiar with. Of course, we've talked about it a few times, and I know some of you, Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Garcia, went and visited with the congressional representatives about our requests for federal fiscal year 24. Our staff, Carissa Bradley, developed the briefing book, which provides a good summary of the priorities of the county and the projects that we seek to submit for federal fiscal year 24. Next steps, we'll be submitting those in April, gathering more information and doing support letters. Also, just to identify the management of the current Community Project Fund awards, which are these appropriations. We have the $12 million for the CARES campus. That one is very close to being received and just getting our notice to spend funds. We've just finished, the CSD department just finished working to get the environmental review for the CARES campus completed, and that's kind of the last milestone that we're needing to get completed to move forward with that. We also have the 2.5 for the infirmary, and then for federal fiscal year 23, 1.7 for Lemon Valley, and we'll be working on the environmental review for that with the CSD department. We also have the special projects. We have the Gerlach Trail Initiative, which is a really important project for the community of Gerlach that'll support recreation, tourism, and economic development up there, as well as our next special project is the fitness courts. We're putting local art, so we're just now, today or tomorrow, going to be posting a call for artists to have art, unique local art, unique to that community for the two courts that are going to be one in Rancho San Rafael and one in South Valley's Regional Park. So that's what's happening on that one. And then we continue, we'll be talking with the city of Sparks on Urban County to hopefully become an entitlement community through an Urban County process. I did want, as our projects finish, we will be creating a community engagement series for existing projects, doing some videos, and Carissa is working with our communications team to educate the public about how Washoe County is using the funds and creating some dashboard updates so that we can have that on our website and really let folks know how we're using these funds and show them the outcomes. I think I've kind of identified the rest of these. Any questions?
Okay, let me get back to the right screen here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. There we go. I had to go all the way through. Okay. Commissioner Garcia, I have you signed in first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Enfield. Your third slide actually was very timely. Commissioner Hill and I were sitting at our table at the conference, and they projected, or they had a newspaper at NACO illustrating the breakdown nationally with the same exact kind of perspective. And we found that to be very helpful, which kind of leads me to my next point. The 59 ongoing projects, the 10 completed projects. I was really happy to see in your last slide the mention of community engagement series. That just kind of rose to the top of my mind. I follow the county communications very closely, and I'm always on the lookout for how we can disseminate and be transparent with our public. There is so much phenomenal work that is touching our community every single day, and if we don't communicate that story, people do not really understand the impact that ARPA dollars are having with uplifting so many special projects and initiatives. So I'm looking forward to that. And if you didn't mention that today, I was going to mention or suggest or recommend that we pursue something like that. So I'm greatly appreciative. And in relation to just the amount of dollars that are available right now, I mean, they talked a lot about grant fatigue, with folks like you and your departments and team. And so I just wanted, I hope that we as a commission can support your staff and make sure that you have the resources that you need to be able to go after these competitive grants and make sure that we're trying to attract as many funding opportunities to our county. There's a huge shift at the national level, it sounds like, to make sure that these dollars get to our hands, which is a lovely evolution, rather than having to be funneled through the state and then we kind of get access to what we're given. So I'm really excited about that ongoing trend. And so just making sure that we can be strategic in how we're layering all those opportunities with infrastructure, possibility, sustainability, and ARPA. And I know that takes a heavy lift from you and your team. And so I just wanted to say thank you for all the work that you're doing and for communicating this with the body.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Clark, I have you signed in next.
Yes, I just wanted to thank Ms. Anfeld for her informed presentation. I met with her several weeks ago and I was able to get other information from her, and I thought it was very informative. But on a personal note, I want to say she's been a real ambassador for this Trails program. I saw her on PBS a couple weeks ago walking the trails with some other folks. I thought it was very interesting. If you get a chance to see that on PBS, you should look at it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And as Ms. Enfield stated, we are now ambassadors of all of the even additional federal support that are coming in for transportation, our infrastructure, and the Inflation Reduction Act. So for, ensuring sustainability of our fleet and all of those incredible opportunities for investment in the county. And what we found is I think there's opportunity, and I just want to state this for the record, for staff to really engage on these websites for training. So many of these grants require labor agreements, and I know that we don't always do those, but I don't want to leave money on the table if we don't want to work with our labor partners in our community. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity to learn about how that process works. And there's toolkits, and I will be sending you those links that we were sent at the conference. So there's a lot of opportunity to learn how to work through those things, since I haven't seen any of those come before the board on my time. And so I know that there's going to be a learning curve. And as Commissioner Garcia stated, there's going to be a lot of work, but it will be so worthwhile. Pete Buttigieg spoke to our group and he said, we've always had these problems in local government, but you haven't had the funding to fix them. And this is so exciting. And I want to make sure that we can, ensure that we're showing up to accept that funding for our community and investing in all parts of Washoe County. So thank you.
Thank you. You've all said incredibly great things. I'll just follow it up by thanking you, Ms. Enfield, and your staff. And I say this with all sincerity, Commissioners. I don't think there's anybody in the region who has a better grant staff than we do. and amazing work, team. You guys make us look really good by ferreting them out and then getting them. You know, I mean, finding a grant is one thing. You can, I mean, and I don't want to say anybody can find the grants, but, you know, it's not difficult to search them out and go, okay, here's a grant. Getting awarded the grant is a completely different level. And and you guys have been phenomenal at that. And so I'm very thankful. I want to go back just briefly because I think that there's some important things here that I want to mention. Under your completed projects, Children's Cabinet, so good. Great Renal Balloon Races. And while I know that we don't typically support those legacy events, I think that this is an important one because it really does. It has, and I'm going to show how long I've lived here now. I was at the first one. And in fact, I had lots of photographs that were used over the years for various publications and et cetera. But the Great Renal Balloon Races are, I mean, it's just so important. Clerk staff, we couldn't do what we do without the clerk's office. Wilbur D. May, what a gem in our community. Sparks Justice Court, so important. Reno Justice Court, again, so important with the Self-Help Center. The Washoe County Sheriff's Office UV sanitizing program. But here's the one that I think is really an incredibly important one. The Washoe County Sheriff's Office deputy positions. We have been so understaffed, so thank you for working on that and getting that completed. We have been so understaffed with deputies and just throughout the community. It is an overwhelming job to run that detention facility, and the sheriff has done a phenomenal job. I want to thank all of the deputies, and so that is just so important. Our regional COVID wastewater surveillance research, that's through the One Water Nevada program at UNR. And I think what's important about this is this proves that you can utilize wastewater to figure out a number of emerging issues in your community, and I think they're on the they're on the tip of finding some other things that may be very interesting. And then of course the Palomino Valley Road restoration, which is so important out for the North Valley. So I wanted to just highlight those because I think it was important. I know we skipped over them, but again, thank you for the hard work. And I don't know, do you need anything from us today? It's for discussion, but I think we've kind of given direction. I think you sort of know the directions that we want to go, Ms. Enfield?
Yeah, unless you had any changes to
we're not styled to really give you, it's really for discussion, but I think I think you've kind of figured out which way the wind blows here.
Mr. Chair, do you want to check with Commissioner Herman?
Commissioner Herman, thank you, Mr. Manager. Stop being silent, Commissioner Herman. Jump in.
She gone?
Is she still on?
Oh.
Okay.
It's hard here. So the connection is not good. So you're doing just fine, and I'm intently listening to all the good things that are happening.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Hill.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, it's okay.
As far as guiding principles, and I don't know, we're not stylized for action, but that digital access, I think, needs to be added. There is opportunities, federal funding for computers and free Wi-Fi for our community, and we have got to figure out a way to communicate that and push that out. And it's less of work on our end, except for the communications aspect, to ensure that digital access gets out there.
Thank you.
You know, it's so interesting. Computers used to be, you didn't necessarily, I mean, they were really helpful, but you didn't necessarily need them. Now you cannot survive. It is it is required. I mean, thank you for bringing that up. That's an absolute truism. All right, commissioners, if there's nothing else, thank you, Ms. Enfield. Well done, as usual. And we'll expect a report after you watch the PBS thing on trails. Okay? All right. That takes us, Mr. Manager, to item number 7.
Item 7 is a recommendation to acknowledge receipt of the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for fiscal year 22-23 from the Government Finance Officers Association. And in chambers today, we have our budget group
Who's represent Ms. Cook?
led by Lori Cook.
So before you get started, I'm going to start, if you don't mind. The Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada, the National Association of more than 22,500 members of federal, state, and local and finance officials. The mission is, of course, to advance excellence in public finance. And we have a phenomenal team, and I, again, could not be more proud. The GFOA, we love acronyms in government. That's just, it's one of those things that we're just enamored by. The GFOA Distinguished Budget Presentation Award represents the highest standard of quality in budgeting. I think that's important. 1,700 entities nationwide participate in the award program annually. 1,700 entities. And that's participate in something with 1,700 entries. To achieve the award, the county must demonstrate the budget is a policy document, a financial plan, operations plan guide, and a communications tool. And the goal is to engage the public in the budget process and inform people who have varying degrees of financial expertise on how the county spends its money. And the county has won this high award, wait for it, for the past, we're legal to drink now, for the past 21 years. Okay, so we're not, that 21 years.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
How long has Ms. Cook been with the county?
Oh, 21 years?
23.
Just thought I'd point that out.
Sorry. It was a guess on my part. I did not, thank you, Mr. Manager. 23 years. So that'll tell you something. Thank you. That's a very telling number. Thank you. The Budget Division team members, and if I hack your name, again, all of you may call me Vaughan. That's the rule. If I beat your name up, but I think I know most of you. Lori Cook, of course, and then Patsy Buxton. Hi, Patsy. Good to see you. Brianna McBride. Hi, Brianna. And Kari Estrada. Hi, Kari. And then Gohar. I'm gonna beat this up, but do it. Come up and pronounce it for me. Barsegian?
Is it on? It's Barsegian.
Barsegian, thank you. Okay. And so that is our team. I'm
All good, Vaughan.
well done. Well done. I love it. So that said, Ms. Cook, I have now introduced your team. The floor belongs to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair Hartung. For the record, Lori Cook, Washoe County Budget Manager. That is the team. I was going to introduce them to you. But the budget award, and we kind of just, from a vernacular, say it's the budget book. It is available online. We get comments, we get input. There's criteria we have to meet, and we try to the best of our ability to meet, to change and make it better every single year. We're in a process right now of trying to find a little separate from this, but a system that will help us do some of these things more digitally, less manually, and be able to have some more of that outward-facing information for the public. It's important. We take it seriously and do our best. We work with the departments, so we wouldn't be able to put it together without their input and their information. And that's.
We understand the team effort. Again, we want to congratulate you. Can we get a round of applause? And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a short recess, and we're going to go down and take a picture with them. So we're going to be in recess for just a couple of minutes.
Told you.
Okay, we are, actually, we're going to keep us in recess for just a moment. We lost. Good. I'll bring us back to order. Let's keep moving. Mr. Manager, that takes us to item number 8.
Chair Hartung?
Yes,
There
ma'am.
was no public comment on that for the record.
It was for possible action. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I apologize. Thank you, Madam
Do
Clerk.
you, did we motion? I forgot. Did we already motion?
We didn't, so
Okay.
let's do a motion.
Move to accept.
Do I have a second? Second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Vice Chair Hill, second by Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Herman, are you still online with us? Okay,
Yes, I am.
okay, perfect. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries, I believe, unanimously with Commissioner Garcia being out of the room. Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk, for keeping us on track, and Commissioner and Vice Chair Hill. Item number 8, Mr. Manager.
Item 8, Mr. Chair, are donations.
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to discuss this donation if you'd like.
Please.
This is a recommendation to retroactively approve a donation of $300 from an anonymous private citizen to the Washoe County Sheriff's K-9 program. And we just so appreciate our community coming together and supporting all of our programs in Washoe County. And that is a form of a motion. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment on item number 8?
There is none.
Okay, we will close that. We have a motion by Commissioner Vice Chair Hill. I will second the motion. Is there any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? I believe motion carries unanimously with Commissioner Garcia being out of the room momentarily. Mr. Manager, that now takes us to item number 9, our consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, our consent agenda consists of 9A1 to 9J1. I have no changes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, would you, I'd like to point out a donation that you have made on the, from your commission donation funds before I make a motion.
And would you like, who would you like, and I'll go ahead. Do you do 9F2 and I'll do
Okay.
9F3?
I would just like to thank our chairman on 9F2 for $5,000 to the Big Brothers and Big Sisters program of Northern Nevada to help children realize their potential. Thank you for your continued support of our community.
Oh, that is such an easy one to support.
Yeah, totally.
That's just a great program. Then that takes us to item 9F3. Commissioner Hill recommends a $3,000 grant, recommends $3,000, $1,000 grant to Nevada Center for Civic Engagement and $2,000 grant to TEDx of Reno. So thank you again, Commissioner, for your support.
Absolutely. And the Nevada Center for Civic Engagement is our We the People organization. And so this is going to help our Reed High kids go to DC. So. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So, Mr. Manager, that's our consent agenda. Do you have anything to point out in the consent agenda, Mr. Manager?
No, sir.
Commissioners, any questions on the consent agenda? Commissioner Clark.
Yes, I would like to address item 9D1.
Okay.
Okay. I think we need to look at this a little further before we vote on this. You know, we all want an environment that's safe and respectful at Washoe County, but I've got to tell you, I'm confused that we're having this discussion as commissioners. This is something that you know, the HR department should be able to handle. Washoe County's got a vibrant human resources department. My question is, why are we adding another layer? Can they not handle any bullying regarding county employees? Also, will this eke into cyber bullying, and how do we define that? how many incidents of bullying have we had at Washoe County that HR has to handle? You know, I myself have felt bullied on many occasions while working here, but I was elected to this position as assessor since I was elected as a position of assessor. Since I chose to believe the people who are attempting to bully me may be simply acting for others out of misplaced loyalty. You know, it happens. If we move forward with this, I believe every county employee needs to have some sort of bullying training, like the sexual harassment training the county requires. I believe we need to hire an independent group, a third-party vendor, to provide us with this type of training, and include micro lessons, 3 to 5 minute video lessons that are made available specifically to bully training. If bullying is this prevalent at Washoe County, we need to have it stopped and stopped now.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not quite finished.
Go ahead.
The bullying that, you know, I have friends throughout the community. I've talked to the people at the unions, representing the employees. I've talked to people at the Sheriff's Department. I've talked to others around. Nobody can remember a recent incident of uptick of bullying. So I don't know why this is at the forefront here now. I think, you know, if we have this, is this going to be unilaterally enforced? Who's going to be the judge? Who's going to figure out if bullying did occur? You know, I think we need to have some type of layer, some type of buffer to make sure that if bullying is happening, let's find somebody else to arbitrate it. Let's find some training, and let's pull this from this particular consent agreement and look into it further if it's an issue. But as I said, I've talked to numerous people over the last week, and nobody can seem to remember any bullying at all. So I'd like to find out more about this. Thank you.
Okay. I'll ask a question here in just a second, Commissioners. Vice Chair Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that perhaps, Commissioner Clark, we could request for a future agenda item to discuss HR policies, because I think that should probably come to the board to just remind everyone about how we conduct ourselves at the county. However, I am in support of 91. I think it's very important that we look at this and make sure that we give HR the tools to, and our employees the tools to report incidences that come up. So that is my thought on that, respectfully, Commissioner Clark.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Clark, I have you signed in one more time.
Yes, you know, I'm looking at the staff report from January 12th about this, and you know, some of the items on this are just something I don't know if we're qualified to be overseeing. I think we need some professional advice. I think somebody like the Corn Ferry Group or some other entity out there needs to come in and examine what we're doing and give us some recommendations. You know, here's one on the staff report. Intentionally excluding an individual from relevant work activity, intentionally impeding an employee from successfully performing their job duties. I've had that happen on numerous occasions here. I've reported it. I've had no results from that. I've had situations where I've been bullied here, and nobody seems to care much about that. But when you bring it to someone's attention, it's kind of waved off. Not invited to different events, not being invited to meetings as the assessor that I needed to be at. So I know what it's like to be on the receiving end of this. What I'm concerned with is, and what I've learned through working at the assessor's office, I'm looking at everyone being treated equally, as we discussed earlier with the pay for the employees. Everyone should be treated equally. So how do we get to that? Are we experts? Are we subject matter experts at that? If we are, let's look into it and figure out how we can make sure that everyone gets treated fairly. You know, equalization is what I'm all about. Everyone should be treated exactly the same. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Herman, any comments?
I had a hard time getting it unmuted, so I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment on item number 9?
There's nobody signed in on any of the items for number 9.
Okay, I'm going to bring it back to the board. Commissioners, what's the desire? We can certainly pull item 91 and vote on it separately. That's what I would recommend that we do. We'll just take a separate vote on that. Or if it's the desire of the commission, we can leave it in consent.
You're in charge of the boat, Mr. Chairman, if you want to pull it out.
I'm going to pull 91 for a separate vote. So let me take the entirety of 9 without 91.
And my motion, I'm hoping still is on the table for the consent calendar.
Okay, excluding 91.
Yes, sir.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion, I think, carries unanimously. Now 91. Commissioners, what's the desire to do there? Do you want to, would you like, I'll entertain a motion. If there are further questions of staff, we can certainly ask those at this time.
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion on 91, but if Commissioner Clark has questions for the HR department on this item, certainly those should be asked.
Yes. Commissioner? I don't have you signed in. So I know you made comments. Go ahead.
So again, I want equity. I want everyone to be treated fairly, and I want to make sure everyone's trained properly. So training is a big issue for me. I know I've got a list of 3 online agencies that offer campaigns that will train our folks and to make sure that no one's being bullied. And one of them is the North American Learning Institute. There's another one, M-Train, and Workplace Bullying Institute. I think we should review what they have to offer and see if it's something that makes sense for our county. And additionally, I believe that we need to make sure that all of our employees are included in this. I'm thinking of even the district courts and the justice courts. All employees should be going through this. We have to go through the sexual harassment training and other trainings that the county provides. I think that bullying should be something on the table that everybody gets to understand.
Ms. Hurley, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Manager.
Mr. Chair, I was just going to suggest that why don't you pull it and we can have a briefing with Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Clark, there are processes in place to determine if bullying has occurred, and they've been in place for a number of years. Perhaps we could spend some time with you and take you through what the current arrangements are, take your input with regards to outside agencies and so forth, and maybe bring it back at a later date.
Okay. Ms. Hurley, did you have any comments on this, or Ms. Canderas?
Mr. Chairman, and I respect what the manager is saying, but is there going to be repercussions for staff if there is bullying and this is not in the code of conduct for HR? I don't want to delay something if there are problems. We're going to be talking later about how do we keep our department heads accountable. I just want to give our employees tools.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Ms. Vice Chair, Commissioners, and Manager Brown. Basically, the Code of Conduct is our baseline standard of conduct for all employees, and I agree with Commissioner Clark. It absolutely should be applied fairly, and that is what Human Resources always tries to do. There's a complaint process and an investigation process, and Commissioner Clark, I'm sorry to hear that you felt that you were bullied. I think that's why we've added that at this time, because it's become more of an issue over the last several years. You'll notice the first version of the Code of Conduct doesn't really have bullying. So it wasn't so much on the radar. So certainly what we're asking today is to go ahead and adopt the code of conduct so it sends a message to employees that these are important bits, these are important things that we want all employees to do. And then we can work with you, Commissioner Clark, as far as finding vendors for training. I think that's a great idea. So we can, even if we put it in place, we can still do some of the things that you're talking about. So our staff's recommendation today would be to go ahead and pass the code of conduct. And like I said, we'd be happy. I'm sure Director Hurley will follow up and get some more information from you on how to maybe implement that part of the policy.
Okay. Ms. Hurley, anything? Or did Ms. Canderas articulate it well enough?
Patricia Hurley, for the record, she did articulate it. It's also important to put it in the policy so that we can look at training, just as Commissioner Clark has indicated. Some of our training does look at workplace bullying and those type of things, but this will make it more official as we look at behavioral-based type training and those type of things, so, and conduct training.
Okay. Commissioner Clark, I have you signed in. Go ahead.
As I said, I spoke with the Employees Association president yesterday and people there, and they haven't seen any bullying. They don't think that that's a problem. So that being said, can we have another couple of weeks here where I can have a meeting, as Mr. Manager Brown said, with me, and let's talk about this. I don't think 2 weeks is going to make a difference. So we'll have, if we can bring it up at the next meeting, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, anyone else? Okay, thank you. Commissioner Herman?
I am I'm protective of opinion by Commissioner Clark. I think that there maybe should be a little time to discuss it and then get it back on at a later time.
Okay, thank you. All right. If there are no other comments by the commission, we do have public comment on item 9D1. Madam Clerk, would you please call public comment?
Scott Meyer, please.
Welcome, sir.
How you doing? Thank you. Yeah, I'm just wondering, is there a rush to get this done? I mean, is there something, I don't know why the rush. It needs to be voted on right this second, what's a couple of weeks, to do it right and make sure that, it's done fairly. I think I don't know, what's the timing? Why did this come up right now? I'm just curious about that. I know you guys won't answer me, but is there a rush? Does it have to be voted on today? I'm not sure of all the, particulars of how you guys do stuff, but apparently it doesn't have to be voted on today. You guys could put it off, I guess. Ladies and gentlemen could put it off. I think that's what you should do. I think that, it should be looked at. I think that the ladies over here made some good comments. I think they're good. But I agree with Commissioner Clark that, it should be bringing some training. I mean, why not? Because are you guys experts at this? I doubt it. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But anyway, that's my opinion. I think you should wait and just and do it right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
There's nobody else signed in.
We will close public comment. We will bring it back to the board. Commissioners, what is your desire?
Mr. Chairman, I'm open to bringing this back in the future. I did request that the staff try to get in front of our board and brief members so we don't have these delays on agenda items. If you don't want to vote for it, that's certainly okay, but to get more information, I'm hoping the staff will make some efforts to sit down in front of board members when they have concerns to make sure that people know what's coming up on agenda so we can make sure we're implementing policy to protect our employees. So.
All right, I will entertain a motion either for or against or delaying this. What's the desire?
I make a motion to delay this until I can have a meeting with Manager Brown and HR department.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Okay,
Second.
I have a motion and a second. We have taken public comment. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay?
Nay.
Okay. Okay. Motion passes, would you bring that, it passes 3-2, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right, we will bring it back. Okay. That takes us now to Commissioner Hill. Vice Chair Hill, would you entertain us with a block vote?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would be happy to. I would like to recommend that we block vote items 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 19, 21, and 22.
Okay. Do I have a second? Okay, I have a motion and a second. Mr. Manager, would you read those items in for me?
Item 10 is a recommendation to approve a memorandum of understanding between the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency and Washoe County in accordance with Article 6M of the TRPA Compact, Public Law 96-551, and Sections 2.5 and 13.7 of the TRPA Code of Ordinances. The purpose of the MOU is to identify TRPA permitting activities for which the county is authorized to assume review responsibility and associated requirements. The MOU authorizes but does not require the county to assume these responsibilities. Item 11 is a recommendation to approve Resolution 23-20 to augment the Equipment Services Fund in the amount of $1,670,000 to increase fiscal year 2023 budget authority for various operating and capital expenses and direct the comptroller to make the necessary budget amendments. Item number 12 is a recommendation to approve the FY24 purchase of 10 replacement pieces of heavy equipment from Cashman Equipment Company, 600 West Glendale Avenue, Sparks, Nevada, 89431, $3,861,733.62 with a 5-year guaranteed payback of $7,561,500, utilizing Sourcewell, a public agency created by the Minnesota Legislature, 2023 contract number 032119 CAT, pursuant to the joinder provision of NRS 332.195, and authorize the purchasing and contract manager execute the sales agreement with the vendor for the units as identified. Item number 13 is a recommendation to award a bid and approve the agreement of the lowest responsible bidder for the 911 Par Housing Unit and roof replacement project to remove and replace the existing roofing materials with a new roof membrane and sloped insulation. Staff recommends D&D Roofing in the amount of $318,584. Approve the purchase of the roofing materials from Garland DBS in the amount of $133,000.77, utilizing Racine County, Wisconsin contract number PW 1925, pursuant to the joinder provision of Nevada Revised Statute 332.195. Approve a separate $20,000 project contingency fund for a total project cost of $471,584.77, and direct the Comptroller's Office to make the necessary net zero budget appropriation transfers. Item number 14 is a recommendation to award a bid and approve the agreement of the lowest responsible bidder for the Kids Cottage 2 roof replacement project to remove and replace the existing roof materials with a new metal roof and high temperature underlayment. Staff recommends CTR Roofing Limited in the amount of $357,855. Approve the purchase of roofing materials from Garland DBS in the amount of $124,745.58, utilizing Racine County, Wisconsin contract number PW 1925 pursuant to the joinder provision of Nevada Revised Statute 332.195. Approve the separate $15,000 project contingency fund for a total project cost of $497,600.58 and direct the Comptroller's Office to make the necessary net zero functional appropriation transfers. Item number 15 is a recommendation to award and bid and approve the agreement to the lowest responsible bidder for the Washoe County Sheriff's Office door replacement project for housing units 1 and 6, PWP WA 2023-047. Staff recommends Simerson Construction LLC in the amount of $742,124 and approve a separate project contingency fund in the amount of $37,106 for a total project budget not to exceed $779,230. Item number 16 is a recommendation to approve the removal of uncollectible accounts pursuant to NRS 354.257, which states authority for removal of information concerning uncollectible accounts from records of county. The Board of County Commissioners may remove from the records of the county the amount of an account receivable in the name of the debtor upon determination by a centralized collection system. Accounts receivable for removal are alternative sentencing supervision fees for $86,766.87, regional animal services redemption fees for $12,080.37, regional animal services for notice of civil penalty fees $361,321.81, and Sheriff's Office jail room and board fees for $687,768.39 for a total amount uncollectible and for accounts past statute of limitations of $1,147,937.44. Item 17 is yes.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Hill, Vice Chair Hill left 17 out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. The next one would be item number 19.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 19 is a recommendation to accept an FY23 Specialized Foster Care Rate Increase Subgrant Award from the State of Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Child and Family Services in the amount of $344,182, no county match, retroactive from January 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2023 to support a temporary foster care rate increase for youth in specialized foster care. Authorize the Director of the Human Services Agency to retroactively execute the grant award and direct the Comptroller's Office to make the necessary budget amendments. Is that it? Oh.
No, I think we're on item 21 now.
21 and 22, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
It's all right.
21 is a recommendation to award requests for proposal 3197-23 to Advanced Interpreting and Translating Services to approve Spanish interpreter services for the Public Defender's Office effective March 1st, 2023 through February 28th, 2027, with the provision for 2 additional one-year renewals in the amount of $138,000 for the initial 12-month term, $46,000 for FY23, $139,150 for FY24, $142,628.76 for FY25, $146,194.48 for FY26, $199,073.92 for FY '27, and if approved, authorize the purchasing and contracts manager to execute the agreement. Item 21 is a recommendation to accept receipt of a direct grant award of $283,091, no county match required for the Bureau of Justice Assistance State Criminal Alien Assistance Program for FY 2021, project number 15 PBJA-21-RR-04998 SCAA to the Washoe County Sheriff's Office Detention Bureau. Beginning date of the grant term is retroactive to November 2nd, 2022, with no end date. If approved, direct the Comptroller's Office to make the necessary budget amendments.
Okay. All right, so let's be clear. That's item 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 21, and 22, correct, Madam Clerk? No, I'm sorry, left out 19. Forgive me. 19.
That's correct.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 19, 21, and 22.
That's correct.
Okay. Do we have any public comment on those items?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have 4 emails that were submitted with concerns for item 10.
Okay. I read those. Okay. So I have a motion. I had a motion by Vice Chair Hill. I had a second by Commissioner Garcia. We have asked for public comment. Is there any other discussion on these items?
Mr. Chairman, just on item 10 to clarify on discussion, it's my understanding that if Washoe County were to take over permitting by TRPA, that would come back to the board. Can the manager just clarify that?
That is correct.
Okay, great. So on the complaint or the concerns, valid concerns, that will be a public discussion and has yet to be had. And currently, TRPA is handling that compliance part of planning permits for Washoe County and will be continuing to do so until we have that discussion at a public meeting and we have the staff to do so. But thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that comment.
Yep, exactly. All right. You have a motion and a second. We have taken public comment, asked for discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I believe motion carries unanimously. Please affirm your votes. That takes us back, Mr. Manager, or takes us to now, rather, item number 17.
Item 17 is a recommendation to approve the use of general fund contingency in the amount of $850,400 for the fiscal year 2023 in accordance with Nevada Revised Statutes 354.598005 to increase expenditure authority for in conflict counsel in the total amount of $650,400 to support cost increases for court-appointed attorneys, increase expenditure authority in the alternate public defender's office for expert witness fees, $200,000, to support reasonable and necessary costs to meet minimum due process rights in the Carlos Gutierrez trial, and direct the comptroller to make the appropriate cross-functional budget appropriation transfers. Total fiscal year 2023 impact, $850,400 with a net fiscal impact of 0.
Okay. Let me turn this on. Commissioner Hill.
Thank you. Thank you,
Vice Chair.
Mr. Chairman. I am in support of this. I just would like to see an item brought back where we holistically look at the Public Defender's Office, the APD office, and the Conflict Counsel Group, so we have an understanding of the caseloads. And I know this board has given quite a bit of money to these groups to make sure that they're staffed up. And I certainly want to make sure that we are defending our most vulnerable populations when they're accused of crimes. But I think we need some further analysis done. And so that's the only thing I wanted to make a note of for this. So we have a bit more clarification of what's happening in these offices. What are the major concerns? Is this the jail backlog? I just feel like more data needs to be gathered, but I certainly am happy to make a motion on this item. I just would love an item to be brought back with those details.
Okay. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment on item number 17?
There is none.
Okay. All right, we'll close public comment. Looking for a motion.
I move to agree with the staff recommendation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Chair Hill, second by Commissioner Garcia. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Can I get Commissioner Herman's vote, please?
Commissioner Herman, item 17. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I believe motion carries unanimously. Okay. Commissioners, I'm going to take one item out of order because I know that we're going to spend some time on item 18, and we have some folks waiting. Mr. Manager, would you read in item number 20, please?
Item 20 is a recommendation to approve allocations of American Rescue Plan Act funds for the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds subgrant to the Boys and Girls Club of Truckee Meadows, a 501c3 nonprofit organized by charitable, religious, or educational purposes, in the amount of $1,500,000 to support expanding access to child care in Washoe County, and approve resolutions 23-17. And if approved, direct the Comptroller's Office to make necessary net zero cross-functional budget appropriation transfers and authorize the county manager to sign necessary award documents.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Ms. Stanfield, welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Commissioners. Gabrielle Enfield for the record. This is a sub-grant through community reinvestment of the state and local fiscal recovery funds, and this is specifically for childcare. As we all know, childcare is a crisis in our community, and community reinvestment will be supporting the sub-grant, but really I wanted Amber and Mike to be able to tell you a little bit about the program because it's really their work that is being implemented.
Ms. Howell and Mr. Worm, welcome.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. It's an exciting day. We have been actively working on trying to figure out how to solve the daycare shortage in our region. There are several initiatives going on between the state and local governments so that everybody's doing their part in seed money to get more daycares online. And with the help of the Boys and Girls Club, they partnered with us, and they are dedicating for us 50 childcare slots for Washoe County employees and 50 slots for foster children. Those are two areas where we know we want to help working families, and they need to have access that's affordable and also available. And so we partnered on this, and it will open this spring, and the Boys and Girls Club is prepared to take on 30 employees starting tomorrow. So very exciting. And then the foster care slots will happen in the summer, and hopefully by us investing in this allows the Boys and Girls Club to grow even further and open more slots. So that's what the item is in front of you today.
Okay. Mr. Worm, you're part of this. I know I see that you're signed in. Go ahead and is he signed in under public comment?
Yes.
Well, I think let's take him off of public comment. He's really part of, I see him as part of the applicant. Mr. Worm. Nice to see you.
I will follow your lead on the processes. Thank you. Yes, for the record, Mike Worm, President and CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Truckee Meadows. And I really just wanted to thank the commission for entertaining this ARPA funding to the Boys and Girls Club. And it's just a great example, I think, of how county and community-based organizations can work together to solve problems in our community. Obviously, the obvious problem is, Washoe County is declared as a daycare desert. Right? We don't have enough care. Less than 40% of our need is being met. But I think even greater, and why we entered the daycare business as a traditional Boys and Girls Club organization, we're primarily school-age kids, but we entered the daycare business 6 weeks old to 5 weeks old in 2007. And I wish you were here, because the person really that makes us responsible is Kim Stevens. Kim's our executive director of the Early Learning Centers, and she's phenomenal. But it's so that we could bring more of the nonprofit flavor, the Boys and Girls Club mission, into the younger ages. There was a time when families would come to our front doors, and we could only help the school-age kids, but today we can help 6-week to 18-year-old, the entire family, which is important. But not only is not enough daycare for the licensed child care needs in our community, what's happening is families and kids that need subsidies to qualify for daycare are being excluded at the level because there's so much demand. Why do the paperwork to bring a subsidy child into your center? And the others is for kids with behavioral needs. So it's easy to kick out a child that has problems, or it's difficult for your staff if there's a waiting list of people that can pay and not have any of that baggage or issues. So those are the kids that we're seeing trickle down. Amber and Kim work so closely together to make sure those kids have access in our clubs. And if it were not for your funding, I worked for a nonprofit for a long time. Oftentimes you talk about having a fundraising advantage. I can guarantee you in my world it's called a fundraising burden, not a fundraising advantage. And these two projects, we would not be able to do. One center we've been able to do out of our reserves and with fundraising, but without your funding, it would have been very difficult to do the second center and add 210 spots to our need right now. So again, my main purpose was just coming here to thank you for entertaining this, and we appreciate you guys and the work you're doing every day. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Worm. Commissioners, before I have two of you signed in, I'm gonna jump in here just briefly. Ms. Hall, did you have something else before? Okay. I don't know how long I've been involved with the Boys and Girls Club. I mean, it's been years and years and years. When Jack Revilio was single-handedly working on this we'll call it a project, and a vision, and how, and I'm just talking about in our community. And to tell you about the great work, we just don't have enough time for me to articulate all the great things that the Boys and Girls Club have done over the years. And it is witnessed by the fact that when you go to these fundraising burdens, look at the who's who that's in that room, and the amount of support that you are getting from this community. It's awe-inspiring, and I mean that. I'm not going to call anyone else out other than the Revilio family, who has been amazing. But I mean, you go down the list, and everybody gets involved, and I mean everybody, from past elected officials to casinos and major businesses. I mean, it is just truly amazing. And the reason I bring this up is just to say, it's my honor to support the Boys and Girls Club because they have done such amazing work. Just look at their track record. And so it is truly a pleasure to support you guys. You guys are going to do great work, and this is really leverage for us. This is and I'm going to use this term, and you hear us use this term on many different occasions. It's a force. You are a force multiplier, sir. You absolutely are. And so you and your staff. And I'm not trying to give just you credit, Mr. Worm, because you know how important it is for all the staff that you have on a daily basis for your operation to be as smooth and as seamless as it is. So thank you, commissioners, for indulging me. Commissioner Garcia, I have you signed in first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was extremely excited, and I'm very supportive of this item. And I'm going to try to not get emotional because I already can feel it bubbling up. But I became a foster parent in the spring of 2016 and went from 0 to 2 kids overnight. And at the time, and as is still true, and Commissioner Hill can attest to this, it's a huge area of stress and concern for working families to think about and start looking for opportunities for our children to access childcare. And so that was true in the fall of 2016, and I was asking everybody I knew and got a recommendation to a private childcare, and quickly realized that they were not equipped and not trained to deal with the special needs that a sibling group of 2 and 3 years of age had come from foster care. And it was very eye-opening and scary to have to face those challenges and then know that there weren't a lot of opportunities. So began to panic. And I can tell you the day that I met Executive Director Kim Stevens changed my life. And I cried when I talked to her, and as I was walking out to my car, because she said something that nobody had ever said, which was, "We understand trauma." And those words had not been communicated anywhere else. And as a parent with the sibling group new to my home, it's something that I couldn't talk to other parents about and other folks couldn't relate to. And so I just wanted to really acknowledge Kim and her impact in this community. We could talk for days about how wonderful she is and the lives that she's changed personally, both as a foster mom and as an adoptive mother. And so thank you to President and CEO Mike Worm. I know he's interacted with my children personally at the club, but I cannot express the incredible resources in our community for our younger children and the opportunity and pipeline to provide those services as they progress through their educational services. So I thank you every day, and I'm happy to move forward with the motion when you're ready.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Chair Hill, I have you signed in next.
I feel the same way, just such excitement, and I just appreciate the leadership at the Boys and Girls Club and the leadership at the Human Services Agency. Amber, I know that you had the Boys and Girls Club on speed dial when you opened our place, because you understand as a working mom what it is to not have childcare. And so we first prioritize ensuring that our homeless mothers could get childcare. And the next step was, how can we help our foster families and ensure that folks who are moving into adoption don't have that barrier of, I don't have childcare, I can't adopt. And then also helping our employees, because it is so difficult. I just appreciate the leadership of this board. I'm just so thrilled to be the first in the region of local government. I don't know about Northern Nevada or Nevada, but Amber, I'm sure you know. But I hope that other employers and other government agencies are watching, and they are thinking of, how do we support our working moms, and how do we support our working dads and our working families, and ensure that they can go to work and not worry about how their kids are doing, and that they're in the best of care. And so I just really commend the team, and I thank you so much, and I'm so excited for this to get online, and just stay in touch, let us know how it's going, and really looking forward to supporting this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you so much. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
There's nobody signed in.
Okay, I'm going to do a cheap plug, I'm sorry. And the Chipino feed is when, Mike?
February 25th.
February 25th. Sorry, Commissioners. Had to do it. If you have not gone, it is well worth it. And by the way, I have dubbed you the Pacino feed now, because you no longer only serve Chipino, because I can't eat Chipino. I'm deathly allergic to crab and lobster. And so as long as it comes with a side of EpiPen, I'm golden. But it never does. And so in past years, I was doomed to eating the polenta in the bottom only. And they would just bring out some polenta for me. But great event. I mean, you guys are just amazing. Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
I move to approve allocations from the American Rescue Plan funds through the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds subgrant to the Boys and Girls Club of Truckee Meadows in the amount of $1,500,000 to support expanding access to childcare in Washoe County, and approve resolution 2317 and make the necessary net zero cross-functional budget appropriation transfers and authorize county manager to sign the necessary award documents.
Second.
I have a motion by Garcia, second by Hill. We have asked for public comment. There was none. Any other discussion, commissioners? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
I believe motion carries unanimously. Commissioner Herman was also an aye on the phone. Thank you, commissioners. Okay. What do we want to do, commissioners? Do we want to take a short break, or do we want to press on into item number 18? What's the desire of the commission? Check your pulses.
We have 18 and we have the public hearing, or do
Public
we
hearing
have,
of
and 23, right?
Yes.
Um,
We are now on item number 18, I believe.
I'm okay pushing through.
Okay,
and
let's go.
Delaying lunch.
Item number 18.
Item 18 is a recommendation to acknowledge an updated list of unclassified management employees and approve the process for the recruitment, appointment, evaluation, investigation, and discipline of non-elected, unclassified management employee, with the changes that a number of Board of County Commissioners sit in the second interview of a candidate for a position appointed by the board, and the chair of the board be notified of complaints made against department heads appointed by the board. The recruitment and appointment process includes the public posting of an open position, the receipt of application resumes, and screening process by a panel to select the top candidates to participate in interviews, a formal interview process, a recommendation for appointment by the county manager, a background investigation of the candidate, and a vote by the board to appoint the candidate to the open position. The performance evaluation process includes an annual assessment of performance by the employee supervisor and the preparation of a formal performance evaluation review. The investigation disciplinary process for unclassified management employees varies based on whether the complaints made against the employee who was appointed by the board and an employee who is not appointed by the board or the county manager. No fiscal impact.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Ms. Hurley.
Good afternoon. Oh, someone was tall that was here. Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Patricia Hurley from Human Resources. The unclassified management employees are exempt from the merit personnel system pursuant to NRS 245.216, subsection 1. This group includes all appointed department heads, assistant county managers, and the county manager. The list is maintained and updated by Human Resources and brought to the board periodically. About 20 years ago, the board recognized the unclassified management employee group and acknowledged an updated list at least 6 times, and the most recent was in 2015. As shown on the attached list, the appointed authority is determined by NRS and/or Washoe County Code. On December 14, 2022, the board approved an ordinance authorizing Human Resources to administer a merit personnel handbook that complies with the requirements of NRS 245.215. While the merit personnel system does not apply to the unclassified employees, many of the processes used for the recruitment, the appointment, and performance evaluations are followed. If you look in your staff report on page 3, the county process for recruitment and appointment for this employee group is based on past practice. The recruitment appointment process is summarized again on page 3. The performance evaluation process is summarized on page 4. And also some unclassified positions such as the public defender and the alternate public defender are required to provide an annual report to the board. See Washoe County Code 5.447 subsection 1 and 5.4504 subsection 1. Those reports contain statistical information about cases handled by the office and are not used for the purposes of performance evaluations. Also, on February 12th, 2019, the board approved the Washoe County policy regarding complaints against policy violations for the county manager, assistant county managers, and department head. This policy establishes the uniform procedures for handling those complaints and applies to the non-elected employees in the unclassified management group. This process is to be followed when a complaint of a Washoe County policy violation is made by an employee against an appointed county official, not including judges. HR and the district attorney's office developed this policy to ensure it complies with due process and is legally defensible. The policy provides the steps to be followed when a complaint is made by an employee. Upon a finding of policy violation, the process allows the county to take action to protect employees and prevent further policy violations by a management employee. That is summarized for you on page 5, and also the policy is attached to this board item. I will now open it up to any questions, comments, or discussions.
Thank you, Ms. Hurley. Vice Chair Hill, I have you signed in first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I asked for this to be brought to the board because I've been feeling like there's a bit of murkiness on how the positions that are appointed by the Board of County Commissioners and serve at the pleasure of the Board of County Commissioners are hired, that they report their metrics and are held accountable and are fired. And I wanted to see what the policies were and how we can move forward. Obviously protecting these staff as well from the political whims of this board, as brilliant as we all believe we are. We want to make sure that we're doing things in the right way. So I really appreciate these changes. Thank you so much, Ms. Hurley. But there are just a few things that I think are missing. And so if Mr. Chairman, may I ask some questions? Okay.
This is your item essentially, so I want you to.
Thank you.
I want you to feel as satisfied as possible at this time.
Thank you. Well, when we appoint the county manager, we ask for a 360 review, and that comes before the Board of County Commissioners. Currently right now, from the policy that I can see, it doesn't look like a 360 review is required by the positions that are appointed by the BCC. Is that correct?
Patricia Hurley, for the record, that is correct. Mr. Hill.
I think there's just so few of them that may be something the board may want to consider. So I'm just going to put a list of considerations, and then I'm assuming that we probably will, unless the board wants to take action on what's before us today, maybe this could be brought back with some of these considerations to review for a future meeting. So that's one thought I had. I also have a question on how the board can be given information on retention and turnover in departments. What happens when HR sees a large number of departures in a particular department? I mean, I kind of want to know for the whole county, just because I believe that, retention is an important part of ensuring that we have a healthy workforce, but certainly for the positions appointed by the Board of County Commissioners.
Patricia Hurley, again, for the record, we'd be happy to provide that to you to look at those. We do offer exit interviews when employees depart, whether they're moving out of the department to either go to another jurisdiction or even if they're transferring. Now, I will say that process is voluntary. It is being handled at the department level at this moment because they do handle all the offboarding when it comes to getting keys, ID, badges, and the transfers, or if they're departing as well to get the information. The county is working, the HR county department is trying to work on a solution that we can make that more automated. However, we're waiting for the SAP transfer, and that is on one of our highest level wishes, is to begin the onboarding process with that. But I'd be happy to add that to my list of things that we could provide, which is retention and turnover for those departments that are appointed by her.
Thank you. And I'm so glad that you brought up that exit interview concern, because I know that it's different in these different departments, and the county is a unique, government agency agency as compared to the government agencies I've worked at in the past, because everything was so centralized under a city manager. And I know that there's a lot of decentralization, but I think you're doing a great job of pulling together and centralizing things. So I'd love to see that we have a consistent way that we're doing those exit interviews, because I know when I've left positions, I never felt comfortable talking to the boss that typically you're leaving your boss, not always, but a lot of the time, and you don't want to necessarily tell them, and maybe HR would be a better place for you to, vet your concerns and make sure that organizationally we're keeping that information and learning from it, seeing how we can support that manager to grow and be a better manager or enact policies that protect staff, those kind of things.
Oh, absolutely. Patricia Hurley, again, for the record. In fact, we are doing a lot more messaging. We've also created a link that on Inside Washoe where employees can come and do that as well if they want to just bypass their department.
Great. That's great. And so that would be a good thing moving forward. And I think that, another thing that I know this board has heard me talk about a lot is my concern about the crowding in the jails, and how can we protect the people in the jails and make sure that justice is being served. And so I know that the public defender and the alternative public defender give annual reports, and there are obviously statistics in the office, and you noted in that policy you can't review a department necessarily on those statistics, but how does this board learn about the requirements for that department and what was and was not achieved? And so that's something else that perhaps there's opportunities for an annual report by these departments to let us know what's going on, and that we're holding them to a high standard and also supporting them where they need to be supported through the budget cycle, and making sure that we're not having to do it mid-budget or last-minute things, or we're in a crisis and we're spending more money than we need to. I just want to make sure there's a certain amount of accountability. And I know on the policy you had suggested the chair be notified about complaints about officials. But is there an opportunity for an attorney-client for all board members to learn about these things? Is that something that could be brought back to this board? So it's, the chair, obviously has a role, but there is a full board here, and I want to make sure that there's some transparency on what we're learning about, what's happening with the positions that are serving on behalf of the board.
Sure. Patricia Hurley, for the record, I will kind of defer that to legal, but my understanding is that I think as long as legal's present and be the one to present it, I think there could be an opportunity for that as well, but I will turn it over to Mr. Edwards in case I said something totally wrong.
So it comes down to what the definition of a meeting is in the open meeting law, and there is an exemption for attorney-client sessions with the board. However, I'm going to read this here aloud. Give me 1 second. I just lost my place on it. To receive information from the attorney employed or retained by the public body regarding potential or existing litigation involving a matter over which the public body has jurisdiction. So it's to receive information regarding potential or existing litigation. So the answer is probably no as a general matter.
Very narrow on NRS
Yes.
is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. And so understanding that, we are where we are with that. I mean, selfishly as a vice chair, if you want to add chair and vice chair to that, I'm open to that. I don't know about the rest of the board, to that part of the policy of the chair and vice chair receiving those complaints.
This is Patricia Hurley again for the record. I will work at whatever direction you guys provide me to update that policy.
That sounds good. And then the appeals to the board per the policy. So the folks who are appointed by the BCC can appeal to the board if they don't agree with a decision that is passed down by the county manager. There is nowhere in the policy, I know there is an NRS, but I don't see in the policy, unless I missed it, of what can the board have an agenda item to review these or fire these positions.
Patricia Hurley, for the record, I am going to turn that over to Mr. Edwards. I believe there is an NRS that must be followed.
Yes, and I'm going to ask if you could repeat that, please.
Well, on the policy, there's an appeal process by these appointed officials of if they don't agree with something, some sort of decision by the county manager, and it has to be noticed and it follows all those NRS requirements. It doesn't explicitly state in the policy whether the BC can do the reverse of that. The BCC can do the reverse of that and actually bring these concerns to an open meeting. And I feel like we know, I know this is in our NRS because I've been breathing this for a while, but I feel like for transparency wise, so these officials know that is also a course of, through their jobs that could happen. I feel like we need to put that in the policy.
You're correct in what you just laid out there. These positions, any position that serves at the pleasure of the board serves at the pleasure of the board. So these, processes, internal processes, practices, those types of things, those are exactly that. They're internal processes and practices, and it's generally how things are done. The board, if it desires, can step in with someone who serves at their pleasure and decide that they no longer have the pleasure of the board and don't want them to serve anymore. That's for any appointed position that serves at the pleasure. So you are correct about that. And let me know if that didn't answer your question.
No, that did. I just wanted to make sure I was accurate. And so if we could just add that to the policy so that's clear for the board and for the people in those positions so they understand that that is also something that we want to look at. So those are my main things that I wanted to be addressed. I think for the future, the board should think about, do we care about staff having residency or not? Is that a policy we want to enact, or is that the new workforce? I would just say, and that's not for today's discussion, I just would say, keep this in the back of your mind. We are using Washoe County taxpayer money and taking money out of our community. And then if folks don't live here, are they taking that money out of the community, especially if they're higher level staff? So I just think that even if the board decides not to adopt a policy, understanding that remote workforce is the new reality and that's totally fine, it probably needs to be disclosed when someone is appointed. And it needs to be disclosed on a staff report so the board understands that is what the decision that we are making, and it's transparent to the public as well. But those are my the main things that I wanted to address to the board. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Clark, I have you signed in next.
Thank you. To Commissioner Hill's point, if we're voting on these folks, we should have all the information available to support any information that's available on these folks. And to legal's opinion, if we can't have a meeting about this, certainly we could circulate information, not circulate, but get information from HR directly to us so we can evaluate it. If we can't have a meeting about it, is there a way to do it that way where we get information about people we're going to vote on retaining or hiring? And so without having a meeting, without violating the open meeting law, can HR send us a report that we can read independently?
I'm going to defer that question over to Mr. Edwards.
So the answer is yes and no. So the yes part is that generally you as board members can get information concerning the performance of appointees that you've put in certain positions that serve at your pleasure. The no part is that there are certain areas that are exempt from dissemination while investigations are pending and things like that. So EEOC and NERC complaints, for example, is one area where while the investigation's pending, those are treated as confidential. So there are some areas where that will be limited, but in general, what you're saying, yes, is the answer.
Thank you. Yeah, obviously we don't want anything that's confidential, but if it's available and it isn't illegal for us to see it, or I think we should be able to review that information. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, anyone else? Oh, I think, okay, go ahead, Commissioner Garcia.
Excuse me, sorry. Thank you. The only thing I'd like to add to the conversation is that the list itself is incredibly beneficial, especially for those of us that just started and we're trying to wrap our arms around all of the complexities and layers to the county government. And so I highly encourage in the future, including this as part of the onboarding process to really kind of set the stage. So that was really beneficial. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Hurley, these kinds of employees, they still work under contract, do they not?
They're not under contract.
They don't have any form of a contract at all?
No.
So it's completely at the pleasure of the board?
Yes, but of course, we don't fire or take action if there isn't cause or anything like that. However, as you heard from Nate Edwards, if it just isn't working out as well, there's an NRS code that can allow for that.
But this doesn't make sense to me. If it, regardless, if the board decides that they don't like someone, your fault, my fault, anybody's fault, if they don't have a contract, if they don't have some kind of an agreement with the county that says, that we can terminate you not for cause, and this is, is that common?
For management and unclassified management for higher level positions, yes, you work at will.
Okay.
Again, though, you follow good HR practices. You tend not to want to fire people if it isn't for cause or for reasons. And you also, you tend to have conversations. We try our best if there's displeasure with somebody to kind of get them out peacefully and work towards, making sure that it becomes a win-win for both people. So we do try to do those things. We don't try to embarrass people, or things like that. We follow good practice and we try to make sure that we're fair. Commissioner Clark brought that up a lot, so did Commissioner Hill. Fair about how we apply our policies to our regular employees is what we would apply to our unclassified management or supervisory employees.
Yeah, okay. All right, commissioners, what's the desire? Commissioner Hill, this is your item.
Well, I think this has to come back unless the board is happy with the changes that are before you today. I don't think, correct, Mr. Edwards?
So I think your instinct is correct.
Okay.
Yes, you've suggested some items that be added to what's in front of you today, and I think the best course would be for it to come back with those.
Okay.
So, Mr. Edwards, I'm happy to make a motion that, do I move that we table this with the direction from the board? Is that how the motion would go?
I don't think do we even need to make a motion?
You do not need to make a motion. This is not time sensitive or anything like that. HR has the comments and knows what the sense of the board is, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I do. I do have the sense of the board.
So
and
I
I'll
don't
make
think
sure I reach out if I don't.
We've given direction.
Yeah, I do not think that you need to actually take any action.
Okay. And I know it's not time sensitive. There isn't something urgent before us today, like a development, thing that we'd have to discuss, like in our NRS. But I certainly hope that there is, some work to bring this back to us pretty quickly, just so that, expectations are set for everyone about how we want these positions to be managed moving forward.
I promise you, Vice Chair Hill, I'll get this back to you as
Thank
quickly
you.
as
I really appreciate that.
Okay. All right. So you have your direction.
I do. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, that closes. Well, actually, do we have public comment on that item, Madam Clerk, even though we did not take action?
No, sir, there's none.
Okay, we'll close item number 18. That now, if I've done my math correctly, takes us to item number 23. Mr. Manager.
Item 23 is a discussion and direction to staff regarding legislation or legislative issues proposed by legislators by Washoe County, Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District, or by other entities permitted by the Nevada State Legislature to submit bill draft requests or such legislative issues as may be deemed by the chair of the board to be of critical significance to Washoe County. We have Assistant County Manager Thomas here with us today.
Okay, so Ms. Thomas, the legislature is in session now, and so the main question is why, for instance, is this thus, and what is the reason for this thusness?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Kate Thomas here on behalf of your Legislative Relations Manager, Cadence Matievich. She is in Carson City doing her thing. We've got a couple of important pieces of legislation and issues before the legislature today, so you're stuck with me. Hopefully I can fill in for her. But really what we wanted to do was put before you the legislative report that we would like for you to consider on a weekly basis or during commission weeks to give you overview on legislation that's important for the county. We have this report, Cadence has this report structured so that you've got the bills of interest at the top. You can see there, if you got it electronically, those are clickable links. Those are certainly not the bills that we are tracking. We have about 785 bills that we're currently tracking. These are the ones that were pertinent for this board to see during the week that we're before you. And so we have information on those if you have questions, but if we do have a piece of legislation that will require board direction, that will be first on this report. The report, and for those of you that are new, is not something we get to you in a whole lot of advance, unfortunately, because of the changing nature of the legislature. So this report comes to you, I think you've each got a copy at the dais. We will email that to you as well. We've uploaded it to the meeting portal for today, but you'll see that the bills of interest are at the top, like I mentioned, and then you've got the status of activity over the previous week, followed by a preview of the coming week. So that's how this report is structured. Just know that during the last 2 weeks, your staff has been very busy reviewing pieces of legislation for both direction or potential impact to the county as well as fiscal impact. So far, we've had about 52 fiscal notes that we've submitted to the legislature, so a lot of work being done behind the scenes. So with that, I would love to ask if this report works for you, if there are questions or some direction that the board would like to give on the structure of the report, or any other items to consider for the legislative overview. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. And so, Commissioners, I will tell you what we used to get was a fairly large matrix. That's what they used to give us, was a matrix. And this is in my opinion, somewhat of a simplified version. I would dearly love to see. I don't have it yet, or maybe it's in my still don't see it in my inbox. But I would love to see the links and that. So I'm looking forward to that.
Great.
So mainly, do we want to talk about any of these bills of interest today, Commissioners, or are we primarily just going to give staff the direction of we like this format? What is the
Can I,
appetite?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
did all of you hold up the document?
Yeah, they should have
Did all of
received
you
it both.
get that document?
Yes.
Yep, email and on your
Marilyn's-
dais.
Commissioner
have a hard
Garcia
copy with
didn't
you?
get.
Okay.
Do you have
You
the
can have
email? The hard copy should be right there, because I don't, unless I got buried. Didn't you get a hard copy?
Thank you.
Steal your hard copy?
We also, Mr. Chair, as you know, have a weekly meeting with your legislative liaisons.
Yes.
Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Herman are your representatives, so we will brief them more extensively on issues that they can bring before you, or items of interest that we can include in this report.
And we do that every Friday.
Every Friday.
So for those of you who aren't the liaisons, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Hill, Madam Vice Chair, if there are items you hear about that you want us to consider, you can either speak to Commissioner Hill or Commissioner Herman or Cadence. Would kind of be the 3 touch points we would recommend. But we review this report every Friday, make any adjustments to it so that it can be available for you at the commission meeting. That's been the standard we've used before. And during these meetings, commission meetings, this will be a standing item. If there are things that the commission needs to take action on, this is where that decision gets made based on the information we share with you, and then that allows staff to go back and go forward accordingly.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Just want to explain the process in more detail.
Okay. Vice Chair Hill, I have you signed in. Go ahead.
And thank you, Mr. Manager. Anyone can reach out to me if you have questions about anything. And I will tell you, the best kept secret in the state is the 3 p.m. legislative Zoom call with NACO, because they not only go over, our bills and our particular concerns, but you kind of hear the hubbub about all county concerns. So if you need me to get you on that Zoom call, it's just really nice to understand what's going on and what other counties are thinking about these issues. So that's how I'm also trying to stay educated and afloat, because it is a lot to manage.
And that is, Commissioner, did I hear you correctly? That's every day at 3 p.m.?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Friday, every Friday. I am still struggling from traveling last night.
Okay,
So
no.
I'm like, do I have words? Yes.
I wasn't sure if I heard you correctly. Perhaps you did say it and I didn't hear it correctly. So
Every Friday
forgive
at 3
that.
p.m.
And-
Who doesn't want to do a Friday Zoom call at 3 p.m., right?
No comment. But it might be useful for us. We are all NACO representatives.
We are.
So everyone is an alternate on NACO.
Everyone's invited.
So perhaps staff can make sure that we have that link somewhere, or maybe even how about this? And this might be the better way to do it. Why don't you just put it in our calendar with the Zoom link?
Great.
Because you can pop in and pop out.
And the Zoom
Just here.
credentials. And by the way, those Zoom links, they don't ever work for me. I prefer just the credentials.
Okay.
The number, the I don't know what it is, the 9 or 12 digit number, whatever
Meeting
the heck
ID
it
and
is.
password, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll get 'em for
yeah,
you.
exactly. That works better for me.
Okay.
Commissioners, any questions other than? So what are you looking for? Do you want us to tell
Does
you,
that
do we
report
like
work for
this?
you?
Are you guys okay with
Is that
this
good? Okay.
format?
And we're open to modifications. If you think that there's something that you'd rather see or something you don't want to see, just let us know.
You know,
Happy to modify.
I personally like this format, and so I've got a thumbs up from Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Hill gave me a thumbs up. Commissioner Garcia gave me a thumbs up without taking a vote. We're kind of doing that, and we'll do that here in just a second. Commissioner Herman, are you okay with this format? Do you even have it in front of you? Did staff email it to her? Okay, perfect. Commissioner Herman?
I do not have it in front of me, no.
Okay.
I'll be there tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll follow up
Well,
with Commissioner.
I'm very comfortable with this. So what would you like us, Mr. Edwards, do you want us to take a vote on that? Or are we okay with it?
No, I don't think you need to take a vote on that. I would just ask if there's public comment, that's all.
Yes, no, I'll get to that in just a moment. Commissioners, any other questions for staff on legislative issues? Okay, all right. I'm going to go ahead and close that. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone signed in for public comment?
There is none.
Okay, we'll close public comment. We'll bring it back to the board. If everyone is happy, we will move on to the next item. No more other questions. Okay, thank you. All right. Madam Clerk, actually, Mr. Manager, take us into item number 24, which is the second reading, and then I'll have the clerk give us some information.
Item 24 is a public hearing.
Okay, second reading. Madam Clerk, would you give us the information on item number 24?
If adopted, this will be ordinance number 1699.
1699?
1699.
Thank you.
An ordinance amending Washoe County Code Chapter 2 by adopting Supplement 16 to the Washoe County Code and all clerical and technical corrections made therein. Supplement 16 codifies ordinances 1632, 1654, 1666, 1667, 1680, 1681, 1682, 1683, and 1684. It was formerly Bill number 1889.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, I'm going to open this up first. Mr. Edwards, you and I talked about this because I couldn't find the inferences that were made earlier in public comment with respect to cannabis. Would you talk to us briefly about what you've been able to find?
Sure. So this item is a housekeeping item. It's really technical, but it's also really boring. So I'll try to keep it, as not boring as I can. really what's happening here is all these ordinances that are listed have already been adopted by the county. So you're not adopting new ordinances or anything like that substantively. What this item does is take those ordinances that are sitting, just picture this, they're sitting in a stack on someone's desk and they're not organized by any topic or table of contents or anything like that. This item takes them out of that stack and places them in the binder with the county code in all the appropriate places they're supposed to go. That's all that this item does. I asked the clerk for a quick summary just on the ordinance numbers, and none of them are the cannabis lounges. So I know that question came up earlier, but that's not what these are. There are things like Ordinance 1632, for example, is the one that established the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And 1654 is who can issue citations for parking. 1666 is, short-term rental enforcement provisions. Same with 67. 80 is Human Services Agency, County Sheriff's Office amendments on background checks. 1681 is an ordinance modifying boundaries of commission districts based on the decennial census, so you'll remember that item. 1682, an ordinance amending Chapter 5 to abolish the office of the Incline Village Crystal Bay Constable. And again, these have all already passed. These are just what they were. 1683 is amends Chapter 25 on fees to be charged for peer-to-peer car sharing programs. 1684 amends the county code at Chapter 5, Office of the Public Guardian, to renumber them, provisions within there, basically housekeeping stuff, and allow the public guardian to obtain the assistance of the DA's office in certain circumstances that they deal with. So those are the ordinances that are in the list. They've already been passed. All you're doing by approving this is letting them be placed into the code in the subject areas they need to go into.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions for staff? Okay. Madam Clerk, would you please call public comment?
Jay Collins is signed in, but nobody's in chambers, so I will remove him from the list.
Okay. And I don't see him making his way in from the outside. All right. We will close public comment and bring it back to the board. Commissioner is looking for a motion to adopt ordinance number 1699.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt ordinance 1699 and as recommended in the staff report.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion by Hill, second by Garcia. We had no public comment. Commissioners, is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. I believe Commissioner Herman was an aye.
It was.
Okay, perfect. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, thank you so much. That takes us now to item number 25.
Item 25 is public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the commission agenda. The commission will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments are to be made to the commission as a whole.
Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
We have nobody in chambers, but I do have an email that I will place on the record.
Thank you. Okay, we will close public comment. Mr. Manager, item number 26.
Commissioners and county managers' announcements, reports, and updates to include boards and commissions updates, requests for information, or topics for future agendas.
Mr. Manager, do you have any further items?
I do not, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioners, Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Chairman Hartung. I've got two issues that I'd like to bring up. First one is I'm going to call it the Dandini Spectrum Workforce Housing. That's the property that they're trying. The city of Reno has approved over near the sheriff's training facility. I just give you a little bit of information about that. I'd like to see this on the agenda, but the land over there costs about $5 million. They're going to put about $120 million worth of improvement there. So land and the improvement. That'll bring in about $700,000 annually to the tax roll. So we're looking at over the next 50 years, $35 million to the county. We've got and that's just some simple math, but it'll actually be a larger amount than that because we're going to have an 8% cap on it since it's since it's income producing property. This is market rate workforce housing. This deal is going to pay this property taxes for forever. This is basic housing. It's classy, but not luxury. This is a 3-story wood frame, attainable housing for those who are in transition or cannot afford to buy a home yet with the high interest rates. By the way, listened to NPR on the market report this morning. Interest rates have gone up 4.5% since this time last year. So some of the highest interest rates we've seen in decades around here. So affordable housing is just getting harder and harder to come by. This offers lots of opportunities for residents for exercise there and walking trails. The benefits of the county are a water line connection for the county police and fire academy. Right now, all facilities have one water connection. If this is cut, then there's no water to fight fires on county property. This is free to the county. Secondary fire access will be built on a fire road used only in the event of a fire or emergency. I've lived in my house for 18 years. There's never been an emergency there. If you think about this road that they want to build, it could only be used in case of emergency. It's not an off-ramp there. It's not a thoroughfare. It may never get used. They'll build a water tank there to the easement, and so that'll support units that are already approved. This will be located in the best location for the designed by engineers. So, it's no cost to the county. We're going to have extra sewage capacity there for both the jail if it's ever increased in size. There's just so many good reasons for this project to go through. I'm going to have further meetings with the sheriff. I can guarantee you in the next 4 years, the sheriff is going to continuously come to us with asks and needs, and I'm going to continue to support the sheriff with those. I asked the sheriff to support us on allowing us to do our job, and that's collect funds. We need to take this non-producing income piece of sagebrush land and put it on the tax roll. So I think this is a good project, and I think we should have it on the agenda in the near future. That's number one. Number two is, at our last meeting, I asked for a motion to reconsider the cannabis lounge ordinance. I think that I'm new to the commission and learning the rules, and I want to ask that we send this ordinance back to the Planning Commission so we can nail down the details. At this time, it doesn't seem like the state will be giving out any new lounge licenses, but I don't want us to get too far ahead of ourselves and rush this. Once the Planning Commission can take another look, I request that be brought to us hopefully by the end of March meeting if possible. Also, given the fact that we have one license in Washoe County that the state is waiting on, it'd be great if the county manager could write the state a letter updating them on our progress so as not to negatively impact the owner. And I think this is a real opportunity. We've heard people come in today, even though it wasn't on the agenda, and want to talk about this. And I think this is an opportunity to bring this, the owner of this project, this owner of this dispensary, and have a kind of a town hall meeting with the folks and address the issues and see if we can get these issues about smell and other things resolved, and make sure that there's a good understanding amongst the neighbors that if this is to go forward, the owner and that company need to do certain things to be good neighbors to the concerns of the folks that are actually living there. None of us live next to it, but the folks who live next to this have real concerns, and they need to be addressed. So in addition to asking for this to be back on the agenda, I think we should look at ways to bring these two groups together and see if we can find some type of compromise. Thank you.
Okay. Vice Chair Hill, I have you signed in next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This could probably be offline from the board. If I could get the drug and alcohol policy for Washoe County emailed to me, and what we do when there's complaints by employees that coworkers or bosses seem intoxicated and how we deal with that, that would be helpful for me. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Herman?
Yes, I do have something. Am I hearable?
Yes, go ahead.
I would like to ask the county manager to bring us a kind of an informational report on the Gerlach situation with ORMAT. It's quite involved, and I think that the members of our board ought to know what's going on up there, since it is in our county. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, anyone else? Okay. So Mr. Manager and staff, let's coordinate with Commissioner Clark on his request and what that's going to require, because I believe what will happen is, and I'm referring to cannabis, I believe what will happen is that will ultimately, we would give direction to staff. And Mr. Edwards, correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't want to get into any deliberation. Then it would have to go back to the Planning Commission again, and then come back to the County Commission.
So before there's any more talk on this, I would recommend that you and Commissioner Clark speak after the meeting on a path forward on that concept. But I am recommending that you don't discuss any more about it at this point.
Okay. Okay, very good. Okay, Commissioners, anyone else? All right, if there's nothing else, we are adjourned.